beat up my Model T, done stabbed me in the bum. Got caught jerking off while visiting my mom.
My goodness.
Family dog done bit me, gave me rabies and lockjaw. I'm up shit creek.
I'm up shit creek.
Without a paddle.
Without a paddle.
I lost the war. But I won the battle. My treasure's lost.
Where'd it go?
My money's spent.
Someone took my money.
My baby's gone.
Oh, yes, so
She up and went. I'm on a one-legged horse without a saddle. I'm up shit creek without a paddle. My lady's pregnant, but the baby isn't mine. And pictures of my dad's new girl looking an awful lot like mine. Knives didn't shake and stink, my clothes are torn and old. Spent 6 hours in a bread line, but all I got was mo. I'm up shit creek.
I'm up shit creek.
Without a paddle.
Without a paddle.
I lost the war, but I won the battle. My treasure's lost.
Where'd it go?
My money's spent.
Who the fuck took my money?
My baby's gone.
Oh, yes, so
She up and went. I'm on a one-legged horse without a saddle. I'm up shit creek without a paddle. I'm on a one-legged horse without a saddle. I'm up shit creek without a paddle.
Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. I hope you like that song. It's by Clyde and Clem's Whiskey Business, my friend's band. They are awesome. I used to manage them, and they fucking rule. And I really like that song. So I'm probably going to be pimping them for a little bit, for a little while. Thank you so much for being here today. We're going to do some brief sillies and then just get right into this case for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm a firm believer that the things that make you the most nervous are the things that you just need to dive headfirst into. You know what I mean? First time I wanted to drive, I remember being so freaking anxious. And I really was like, I don't want to be behind the wheel of a car. I don't want to do this. Can someone just drive me around forever? And then I remember the first day of the driver's ed class thing, they were just going to get right into driving. And they asked for a volunteer, and something inside of me was like, just do it now and get it over with. You know what I mean? And I did. And I ended up doing really freaking well and actually enjoying driving. And even though I was really young, I was like 15 at the time. I remember, like, to this day, like every single obstacle where it's like, I'm really freaked out about this, I kind of go back to that moment where that was one of those situations where it's like, just do it. You know, it's like getting tossed into a pool and you can't swim. You either sink or swim, right? Like, that's it. So this case makes me nervous. It makes me angry. It makes me upset. Makes me incredibly sad. If there's one thing that I never want to do on this channel, it's hopefully at least at the very minimum amount, make you sad. I don't want to make you sad. It's like, I do comedy. But when you have tragedy, there are going to be times when the dichotomy is tested. You know, sometimes in order to get to the funny. You have to go through tragedy in order to, you know, talk about something this disturbing. You kind of got to bite the bullet, so to speak, and just, what's the word, compartmentalize almost. And I don't ever want to ask you guys to have to do that to, the point is, like, we're going to come across cases that are going to be hard to swallow. They're going to be upsetting, and so on those cases, when we talk about those things, that's when I'm going to give you the trigger warning. This is one of those cases, but I feel like it's super important to talk about it now for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's gone cold too long and it didn't have to. I think it could have been solved very quickly. Quite a few people think that. I am angry that it has taken as long as it has. And it has not even been 5 years, and I'm angry because this should have been day one. There's no, they have the FBI involved. There's no reason why it should take this long. Like, there's just no reason, especially and this is one of the biggest reasons I want to talk about this, because the last couple of months I've been speaking to people who were very close to the victim, very close to the victim's wife at the time, her partner, very close to them to a point where one of them was their roommate. One of them was their best friend. One of them was a lady who was just visiting town a few weeks beforehand and had an experience that was very similar sounding to what Katie went through. And then I spoke to another person who had a very similar experience to what Katie went through, and another person who had an experience very similar to what Katie went through, all within blocks of this park, which is where her and her dog were killed one night in Atlanta. And what bothers me about the people that I talk to, what really eats at me and made me want to do this now as soon as possible, is all of these people had a very similar story, yes, about what happened to them and the threats that were made to them and what actually did happen and ended the life of Katie and her pit bull Bowie. But all of these people tried to call in tips and never got a call back. They never got confirmation that their tip was heard. And what's disturbing is they had so much information to give and they still want to give it, and they're not getting a response. There are people who are discussing this case openly. There are people who are discussing this case openly online as if it involves a serial killer. There are people who are attributing this case to Brian Koberger, which is so disturbing because that's just totally ridiculous for many reasons, which you'll see. But the fact that they're still doing press conferences and so many different law enforcement agencies up to a national level are involved, and they haven't gotten back to crucial people. They haven't spoken to critical persons who can give them information and background. So I tried to call some of them in, and it's been hell. There's no for a case that they're really looking into, nobody seems to actually care because nobody responds back to people with pictures of potential suspects, people with exact threats to exactly what happened to Katie happening to them, people who know of someone who experienced animosity towards the victim and threatened her and her dog, who have not been heard and not been responded to by police. There's another big theory out there that the girlfriend had something to do with the partner, and because she's moved on and she's now remarried, it must have been her. I, for one, have spent quite a bit of time looking into this case since the day it happened. Hudson was the first person, Satan, to write to me suggesting that I look into it, and I had already been looking into it, but I was excited that someone cared. And that's actually how I met Satan. It was before all of this. It was really like the first week or month even of he was the first person to write to me about a case. And I was really, really surprised that this is a person from the area who still cared and who said a lot of the things. He echoed a lot of the sentiments that I had heard before talking to him from other people who live directly in the area, who live right along the street where that happened. I've talked to a lot of people in this case, and I did reach out to her partner, her family, which normally I try to avoid because they get hounded a lot. But I noticed how much they treated her partner very much like they did Chris Watts. A lot of people, almost every thread you see about this case, they are accusing the partner. And her closest friends, her partner's closest friends, the roommates, every single person who I've spoken to who personally know them say no way. And also the timeline to me says no way. It's just there's no way. There's a lot of things that make me think it's not her. But this sentiment keeps getting echoed. And the only other sentiment that I see echoed more online through people who don't personally know her, other than blaming the partner, is this wild conspiracy that Koberger somehow did it. And it's crazy. It's completely out of pocket as far as I'm concerned. However, it's not good enough to just say that's crazy, that's stupid. That's not helpful to anyone. Why is it crazy? Why is it stupid? That's what I'd like to talk to you about. That's what I'd like to show you. I'd like to show you some proof, some evidence, or at least some statements from people, and information that I've gathered from people who are close to the area, close to Katie, close to her partner, who all can tell you with their own statements why that's ridiculous or why that's not it. So just a heads up, I think that one of the things that we're going to do tonight is we're going to just intro into the case, because this is going to be a multi-parter. And I think the second reason I really want to cover this is because the anniversary of it happening was recently. And because the further we get away from the date of it happening, the more press conferences come about that seem to be big nothing burgers. It's like reassurance, like, don't worry, we're still on it. Don't worry, we're still actively investigating it. And that does nothing, as far as I'm concerned, to help ease the pain or the fear or the collective on this case. Because if they are actively investigating it, then why not call back the people who have real tips? It really bothers me. So we're going to watch. I want to do like a soft intro. We are going to have a big ass video coming out soon with a lot of stuff that I'm going to show you that is pretty surprising and shocking even. But tonight I want you to know what happened first. And then we'll get into, on further episodes, we're going to debunk some stuff. I'm going to show you some stuff that I've found. As I'm doing that, I'm going to continuously every day try to continue to call it in, and hopefully someone will get back to the people that have statements about it. But I do want to warn you, this is a trigger warning one. This is upsetting. It's very upsetting. And I'm going to try to avoid speaking as much on what happened to Bowie the dog, just so I don't cry, but also because we'll cover a little bit more in depth on that later. You'll get the basics from the news stories you're about to see, and then I'm going to show you some news stories from around that time that I think are very relevant, that people called tips in on, and I don't know that they've been called back yet, but it seems that they haven't, based on statements they've made online. There's just a lot going on with this case. So we're going to ease into it tonight, but I am giving you a trigger warning because this is upsetting. There's no way around it. This is a very upsetting one. So just brace yourself. And I'd like to hopefully have Satan, aka Hudson, call in. And if not tonight, then another night at least, to discuss this with me a little bit. And I think that it's best to always start off with a couple of goofs and gags, just so it's not all depressing. Even though almost all true crime is. Scott Thompson told me once, every crime is a hate crime, because you're not committing a crime with love in your heart typically. And I agree with that. So this, despite that, this is as far as I'm concerned, this is one of the worst hate crimes I've ever seen. And I do think it is that. And there's reasons why. And I'll show that to you. But yeah, we're going to watch a couple of news clips from when this happened so you can get the basics. I will fill in some gaps, and then maybe we'll have Satan on to talk about it, okay? And then I will go in depth on some updates. This is just a very disturbing case, so heads up. Just heads up. Don't say I didn't warn you. Anyway, let's do a couple of sillies to start out, so it's not all, like I said, so it's not all fucking sad. Here we go.
And you got the script that I wrote? Grab the script.
I've been meaning to speak to you about this. I can't read these words. They're not in the right order.
It's good.
I think you might be dyslexic, bro. I'm not reading this. I'm gonna.
No, please
I
read
think
it.
you might be dyslexic.
Just read the script once.
Okay, you want me to read the script?
Yes.
All right.
And action.
I'll read the words you wrote. Hello, fellow American. This you should vote. Me. I leave power. Good. Thank you. Thank you. If you vote me, I'm hot. What? Taxes. They'll be lower. Son. The Democratic vote for me is right thing to do, Philadelphia. So do. This doesn't make any sense.
All right, well then, just say whatever you want.
9-year-old Tokyo pimp Brian Albert Jr. is back with an all-new hotspot that answers the question.
Well,
This place, the Waterfall Bar and Grill, has everything. Geeks, Sherpas, a Jamaican nurse wearing a shower cap.
Bukkake. PB and jelly sandwiches.
Sneezing.
Energy forces.
A Russian man on a prepaid cell phone. Guys with afros. And look over there in the corner. Is that Mick Jagger? An albino that looks like Susan Powder. Germs.
Germs?
German Smurfs. Of course. And just when you think the fun is over, knock, knock, who's there? It's Black George Washington. And anyone can get in. There's no password. At the door, just do the Cosby face.
the Cosby face?
Yeah. If you want fun, then listen to this. Nightlife designer Tranny Griffith is back with an all-new club that answers the question.
This is funny, Ms. Reed?
And inside it's just sick. Ice sculptures, winos, you'll see twinks, gypsies, puppets in disguise, a Teddy Ruxpin wearing mascara, human squatty potties. It's that thing of when you sit on the toilet. Giant 300-pound baby, and he spins records with his little ravioli hands. Based on the novel Push by Sapphire. If that's not enough for you, you can hit the dance floor with a human fanny pack. Inspired by true events. If you're well-to-do and you just gotta hunt humans. No. If you're looking to just get murdered. If you're drunk in doing cheap coke off your laundry card. If you're Irish or just white and violent, I know just the place for you. Built in the upside-down world, the Spy Curious Beach Party is the creation of Brian Albert Jr. This place has everything. Charts, graphs, PowerPoint. A guy who still thinks Jamba Juice is good for you. You want culture, and you want it now. I've got the place for you. This hate speech haven is a creation of
decorated dudes
located in
back out front, but in front of Asian house.
As you walk in, you'll be handed a glass of champagne. Or is it piss? This place is gonna have everything. Ghosts, ghouls, goblins.
Little grab ass.
My son. A woman with nowhere to turn. A wise old turtle. And you'll have your own When Harry Met Sally moment when you share a special kiss with Gizblo, the coked up gremlin. They've got a special display of Jewish fireworks.
What are Jewish fireworks?
For the kids, there's a special workshop where you can build a bear, but not the kind you think.
It's like a bear hug or something.
So come by this weekend and check out a VIP section filled with turtlenecks.
Oh, sorry. Do you mean turtlenecks?
No. Turtlenecks. It's a thing when like fat guys have a beard, but only on their chin roll.
But Stefan, for people who want culture, like regular culture, like theater, where can they go?
For that, try blindfolded theater group Shakespeare in the Dark. This year, they're performing the Scottish play.
Macbeth?
No, Jackbeth.
Okay.
And don't worry about security because it's guarded by an army of hobo cops.
developing tonight.
All right. So now we're going to get into it. We're out of silly mode and we're into serious mode. I know it's hard to do, but this is part of training. We're training. Okay. We're callousing. Also, Bubsy, I can't in good faith show AI babies. I'm sorry. I discussed why, and I'm not trying to be a party pooper. And I kind of feel bad about even bringing it up or talking about it in the past, but I just have to be transparent because it is I don't know. I would want to know if I was a parent. But yeah, the AI baby thing, I can't get on board, dude. I just can't because they use biometric data from real babies. They scrape the internet for pictures of real kids, and that's how they make them. And it just bothers me. Like sometimes you'll see like Jean Bonnet in one, and it's like, oh, fuck that. Like I can't. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I even made a joke like, oh, maybe I'm just jealous I don't have an AI baby. No, I really don't want one. Like they kind of freak me out. And the thought that like pictures of strangers' kids and your kids, anything that's public that is a picture of your toddler is likely scraped and fed into those AIs. And I just, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm better than people because I don't fucking contribute. It's not that. It's just like, because I had someone say like to me like, oh, so you're too good to enjoy AI babies. And I'm like, no, dude, I don't enjoy them because I unfortunately know that shit and it bothers me. Like the thought that there could be like like everything AI is from something else. People don't realize all the art filters and shit from AI. Those are real artists that get ripped off. Like the voices are real voice actors and actors that get ripped off. And your voice, anything that your Alexa picks up without you knowing, can be bought as metadata and fed into an AI. So yeah, a lot of it is the porn thing is a good point because they're already doing that. They're taking, teenagers and feeding their facial features and bodily features into AI to create disturbing porn. Like, it just bothers me, and I don't know. I think something shouldn't be AI. And I think like taking like an artist style, especially when they're alive and they're trying to live, or musician style, which not all of them do, but some of them do with art, music. You just got to be careful, And I think because there's like auto tune and DJing, the music doesn't bother me as much. The art, if it's like collage, it doesn't bother me as much. If it's not too much that style, if it's like something, what's the word? If it's something big that's like Lisa Frank style or Van Gogh, like people that have already made it, like that's one thing. But there's artists out there where they take that shit and then they scrape it and then they use it in the AI to create other art, and that bothers me. Yeah, exactly. They aren't real babies though. But they take all the biodata, the biometric data and pictures and scrapings of it, and they put it in there. And if your baby has chubby pink cheeks and he's ginger and they're trying to get a ginger baby in the AI, then that's one of the things it could pick up. And the thought that like I could see my niece or nephew on there really fucks me up. Like, I don't like that. I don't know why. I don't know. I just don't, I'm not a big fan of it, but I've seen them and I giggle at them, but also they kind of creep me out. Yeah, it's like cloning. It's just weird. It's like if someone took your kid and photoshopped it with another kid and just didn't tell you, and then millions of people did that. Like, it freaks me out. I don't know. But at the same time, I get the concept and I get why so many people think it's cute, because it is cute. That's the point. I don't know. It bothers me and I don't know why. I'm not against anybody who creates it or makes it. I don't think that they're pieces of shit. I don't think that there's anything wrong with them doing it. I think of that every time I see it. So it freaks me out. Yeah, it's a baby scraping market that I'm not that keen on using for entertainment, I guess. Yeah, they 100% they do. If there is a public picture, that's the thing, is AI doesn't discriminate. If it's scraping data and it's looking for, children under 5, it's likely going to get a ton of missing kids in there, and it has. So, yeah, it just freaks me out. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's like Aunt Getty's calendars. I could never get into those. I'm like, why is that baby in a pumpkin? Get it out of that basket and clothe it. It's probably cold. Like, it just, I don't know. It freaks me out. It's all code to the AI. It does not discriminate whatsoever. So, like, in a way, that's great. We don't want discrimination, but at the same time, you know, it's someone's kid. Like, it freaks me out, you know? Anyway. So that's why I don't do the AI baby thing. I don't like get that into it, and I'm not excited about it, and I'm not that. Like, I'm not gonna play it, but I get why people think it's cute. And see, that's what sucks, is like I don't want to spoil something that people find fun. Does that make sense? Like, some people like to fucking hang from their nipples. They call it suspension. There's some people who like to get their tongues split. It's body art. You know, there's people who they want to put on puppy ears and be a furry. Like, and like, yeah, I'm not that into it. But at the same time, you know, I'm not trying to shit on it and like make fun of people who do it. Oh yeah, there's people who like suspend from their backs and stuff. I wrote an article on one a long time ago when I was in college. I probably still have the photos and stuff in the article. But yeah, they put the guy put the things in his nipples and then had a long cord and then put a cinder block at the end and then spun around with it. And he's like, "Yep, that's art." And I'm like, "That's cool, man. Good for you. I'm not going to do that." But all right, you know, some people like weird shit. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, AI is fine sometimes, but sometimes when it's babies, it freaks me out. I don't know. Also, I could just be freaked out by babies. Like, they have like tiny little hands and tiny little feet that could sneak up and bite you. I don't know. They freak me out. Anyway, yeah, let's transition into the topic at hand. I apologize. That was a weird segue. That's on me. That's on me. But I did want to address it because quite a few people have been asking me, like, do you like AI babies? And I'm like, listen, you should probably know this. Why I don't, but just because if you have, I don't have kids, but like if you do, I would just be careful. You know what I mean? Especially because if you're using an AI baby filter or whatever it's called, an AI generated baby, like, you have to give those AIs permission to like scrape your phone and your data. So like, you know, they give, they take. Just remember that. Anyway, these are news stories from the week, month, and year in question when this event took place at Piedmont Park. I'm going to let you watch it, and then I'll fill in the gaps afterwards, okay? Here we go.
Brutal murder inside Piedmont Park. This 40-year-old woman stabbed to death, her dog also killed. The gruesome crime happening on one of Atlanta's most popular top outdoor destinations.
And tonight, police are pleading for your help to find out who's responsible. Police found the victim near the 10th Street entrance to the park, not far from Park Tavern. CBS 46's Haley Mason is live tonight as officers scour that area for answers. Haley?
Tracy, we've learned that the woman who was killed actually worked not too far from where her body was found here at the entrance of Piedmont Park. I'm here where police say the woman was stabbed repeatedly just yards away from this 10th Street entrance. And right now, people from the community have come out to lay flowers in her memory, as well as dog treats honoring the woman's life, as well as her dog who was killed here overnight. Police believe this may have been the last time anyone saw Catherine Janness walking her dog late last night in Midtown. She was found brutally stabbed to death just after 1 o'clock this morning inside Piedmont Park.
We're just asking anyone if they saw or heard anything to call 911, call Crime Stoppers.
Police tell us Catherine and her dog were killed inside the park. Police from several agencies combed through the crime scene that happened just yards from the front entrance on 10th Street in Charles Allen.
I really hope that they find the person and, figure out security around the area.
Some joggers telling me today they're becoming more concerned about crime, especially after learning the brutal nature of this stabbing.
I think it's a shame that there's so many murders being done now.
All of us would like to know, was this a random act? Was there, was someone targeted? I mean, it would just help for us to have peace of mind and have an idea of the threat level and the safety.
A dive team swam through this murky pond near the front of the park, searching for new evidence through the afternoon. Right now, cameras on nearby streets are offering the best picture of what might have happened.
I've made it a point to not be in the park after hours, and I do wish that there was some way to, sort of sweep the park at night and make sure that people leave, because we have a lot of people that have that camp and live in the park.
I hope maybe they'll start putting maybe policemen here at nighttime to start walking around. I mean, they should.
And the details are just awful. We will say, though, that off the record, sources have told us this woman was mutilated, and police are adamant in finding out who did this. Police are also offering a $10,000 reward for information that will lead to arrest. Any tipster can remain anonymous.
Okay, let's pause it here because I want to talk to you a little bit more about this. I want to fill in some gaps, okay? First of all, Katie was about 40 years old. This area that she's in of Piedmont Park is the gay district. This is where the sidewalks are rainbow. There's a ton of gay bars.
Later tonight
is a very, very popular part of the park. I have been here and it was awesome. I personally thought Piedmont Park ruled. I did not get to go inside of the park. I got to go around it, near it. I think Midtown rules. Great comedy club, great place. Everybody seemed very nice. It's not a bad neighborhood, right? And Sherlock Ho, you're from Atlanta, right? So you know, or that area, you know that this is a place that is, there are concerts there that are insanely huge, like big, beautiful. I cannot express more how gorgeous this park is on the inside. They've got like a big tree person, like almost like a, I don't know how to explain it. It's I've never seen anything like it. It's like the troll statue under the bridge in Seattle, but imagine it's a woman covered in leaves. It's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I was at the Vortex, and oddly, I saw someone get stabbed right at the bus stop, getting on the bus that night. But other than that, and that was right outside. Was that 5 Points area or Midtown? I think it was like, it's wherever the Vortex is. And then we went past the rainbow crosswalk and drove around. It was beautiful. This is if you want to know more about this park, if you ever saw Love on the Spectrum, this is where Georgie and Connor met for their dates, like under that big, beautiful, the wedding looking thing by the duck pond. Yeah, it's the botanical gardens. Oh, she's gone. Your brother helped build that. That was one of the most amazing things I ever saw. I thought that was gorgeous. This is a massive park, though. This is almost like, I guess, y'all's hippie Central Park. It's a gorgeous area. It's lively. There are people out at night, usually by the bars and the restaurants, which are closer to the corner. There's a lot of foot traffic, but once it gets super, super late, that's when people start leaving the park because, like most parks, it's closed. Unfortunately, you know, the issue with homeless people, especially in cities like this, you know, they have to go somewhere. And parks tend to be a place where quite a few of them will go. And they seem to have an issue with that. Everything that I was looking at statistically is that there's a lot of violence there that stems from two things. Number one is issues with homeless people who are mentally unwell and some gangs. But those bits of violence come in bursts. They seem to be very random, and it's not something that's just constantly happening every day. But when it does happen, it's usually a shock, and they usually catch the person pretty quickly, except a few specific cases that were quite similar to Katie's, but completely different victim profile. No dog involved. One of them in particular, they believe was, they caught the guy, and it was a boyfriend, and it was literally the week of this who killed his girlfriend. I think it was even the same day, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just odd timing. This is also an area that seems to have some pushback to a lot of gentrification issues. There's a lot of really classic, beautiful, non-renovated houses there that are very historical. And due to some of the laws with historical houses, there's issues with renovating them. Now, one thing about Katie is her and her partner, they did live in a house nearby before this, like an apartment within a house. The landlord was a bit of a hoarder, it seems, had shit everywhere, a lot of paper and bad electrical wiring. And there was a fire. And Katie and her partner and the pets survived it, but their house burned down. Now, Katie's partner's dad is a local politician in the area. He's a fabulous gay man. He's got a bald head. He looks just like Mr. Clean. You'll see him soon. He's a very cool dude. I really like seeing his interviews. He's also a politician and he's used to speaking in front of cameras, and he's also very involved politically in the area and the neighborhood, as well as his small town, which is nearby. But so is Katie. And so her and her partner's dad, it seemed connected on multiple levels. They seem to get along fucking fantastic. But a lot of criticism has fallen upon him and his daughter, Emma, Katie's partner, because they're just not really criers, I guess. They're the type of people, I mean, they talk about tragic things and they don't react, it seems, the way most people think they should. But there's some footage that I think a lot of people don't pay attention to, which is the behavior at the vigil, the dad giving like a big speech about Katie and the push that they did to try to get this solved. That makes me think that the media kind of framed this very poorly for them. And I have no reason to think, and some people could call me crazy for that, I just don't think she did it or the dad had anything to do with it. And I just want to put that out there because you're going to see some interviews here shortly with them. And here's another thing. Yeah, there is sex work going on. That's actually something that I noticed was kind of on the other side of Piedmont more so, but also there were a couple of things where gangs followed people under this bridge where they followed people and then just random attacked them. And one thing I want to stress is when I was looking at the gang initiative information and all of the feedback about gangs specifically in the Piedmont Park area, Midtown, 5 Points, all the way to downtown Atlanta, which is a bit of ways, there's a huge difference in how the gangs operate, I guess we could say, based on, well, I mean, that makes sense because one gang will like control one area and one will control another. And it seems that it's gotten a little more violent over the years, and there have been a lot of targeted random attacks, i.e. gang initiations. And the reason I bring this up is because I also see a lot of people saying it's stabbing, it must be personal, it must be the partner. I cannot stress enough, that is not true. In fact, statistically, I believe it's like half and half. They don't even use that anymore as a part of profiling. It's so obtuse. It's not the way things work now. Stabbing and what would once be considered a personal attack, including carvings, have gone up, and it seems that quite a few of them are specifically related to gang initiations. And one of the reasons for that could very much be the hands-on element and humanity just getting a little more brutal. But I think that a lot of it also has to do with access to guns. I think that if somebody doesn't have an access to guns, they're more likely to turn to knives or some other means to do what they want and accomplish their goal, which is clearly to hurt someone. And in other gangs, it's drugs, it's fentanyl. In some gangs, it's literally you just have to rob someone. But different gangs that control different areas have different methods of how they operate. And it seems that stabbings and shootings seem to be the overall ruling element for gangs in this specific area. Yeah, across from the vortex. That's exactly where I saw a guy get stabbed getting on the bus, actually. It's a good point, Sherlock. Yep, same area. So yeah, that's pretty much what I noticed just looking statistically at the crimes in that neighborhood. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm going to show you a little later from that neighborhood and that happened. But I'm also going to read to you some posts from people who worked at the park and were there that night, people who live in the area and people who know the victims. For now, I'm going to let it continue. But what you really need to know is that when she says that this woman was, let me just put it this way. This is one of the first early reports of this happening. When the autopsy came out, It was something like I've never really seen before, especially in a public killing and in a park nonetheless. But there was a lot done to Katie. And the necropsy report for Bowie the pit bull did not get released to the public, but it did come back. There was a report that there was potential DNA in Bowie's mouth. So that's very important to know. And the overall ruling theory is that Bowie must have been comfortable with this person to allow them to get that close to Katie. So that's why it must be Emma. I think that that is so stupid. It's a very dark park. And considering the dog likely got DNA means that the dog did attack the person. And the positions that we know regarding the body and the placement and the area tells us that quite a few things could have happened. So with that said, I'm going to continue. We're going to watch a few more things, and then I'm going to put a link in the chat for Hudson if he'd like to come up and talk about this a little bit, considering, I mean, we've chatted about this case quite a bit. And I just want him to give his insight like he gave me when he first wrote to me about this. And this was over a year ago. So thank you for that, Hudson. Here we go.
On CBS 46, my colleague Zach Summers is talking to people who knew Catherine and knew her well in Midtown. Reporting live in Piedmont Park, Haley Mason, CBS 46 News.
Haley. Right now, Atlanta police working around the clock to find the person responsible for stabbing a woman and her dog to death in Piedmont Park. The department now offering a reward for the death of Katie Janness. This morning, her loved ones are sharing their memories as they hope to find her killer. Chanu Her joining us live from Piedmont Park this morning with the very latest developments. We brought you this story yesterday morning as breaking news. Information was slim. We didn't know a lot. As the day went on, Chanu, this story just became more devastating and heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's right, Aisha. Absolutely just heartbreaking for Katie Janness's loved ones. And there are so many questions surrounding this case. But while they wait for answers, her loved ones are remembering her out here where she was killed. There they have flowers remembering her, as well as a box of dog biscuits for her dog, who was also stabbed and killed in this case here. Now, friends and loved ones of Janness are remembering her as someone who was kind, down to earth, and a beautiful spirit. A group of her friends say Katie worked as a part-time bartender at Capignolo in Midtown. Katie's friend, Chip Powell, the artist director at the Whole World Improv Theater, has worked with her for 8 years. He says he doesn't know anyone who would want to hurt her. APD says Katie and her dog were stabbed to death in Piedmont Park early Wednesday morning in what investigators are calling a gruesome crime.
Okay, pause for that, because we are going to debunk a little on the way. You will see comments in threads on Reddit, under YouTube videos, under news clips, anywhere someone's talking about this case. You're going to see a few assholes that are going to pop in and say, Bowie wasn't even stabbed. The police never said that. How do we know that? Yes, he was. The police did say that. Yes, he was. And it was reported immediately. So just to be clear, yes, he was. Necropsy report already came back. They have not reported what the necropsy report said. However, it did come back. He was killed by a knife. I want to be clear on that, because some people who are complete idiots like to manufacture fake theories that he was choked, he was strangled, and even worse, that, he was friendly with the person who did this, when in fact, that does not seem to be the case. With that said, we'll continue.
It's immediate shock and panic because, it's just something that is too close to home to wrap your mind around. I live on the park. I work with Katie. Katie and I hang out at a lot of places around the park. And so you feel that that's your safety zone and where you can be safe.
And Katie's girlfriend tells 11 Alive when Katie did not come home Wednesday morning, she tracked Katie's phone and found her. Now, right now, there is a $10,000 reward out there to help find who her killer is.
All right, Chanu, we will be thinking of that family and following this investigation.
Okay, so a little follow up on this. Katie's girlfriend, Emma, would go to Katie's bar. She bartended at this really, really fancy, cute little Italian restaurant. Katie was also a musician. She has a SoundCloud. She sings beautifully. I will put a link to that. Very cool 90s vibe. Absolutely love her. Kind of reminds me of like Liz Phair almost, but also very breathy. I love her voice. She used to sing and perform at coffee shops in the neighborhood. She was an active musician. She was considered one of the best bartenders in the neighborhood. People absolutely loved her. Everybody who talked about her, who visited her bar and knew her, called themselves regulars because of Katie. They said she was one of the best conversationalists and she was so active in her community, and they loved having discussions with her while they had dates or ate dinner. Now, Katie's restaurant, the one that she worked at, she'd been there for a long time. That was one of her coworkers. They knew her and Emma very well, her wife. Emma would come over and have dinner at the bar and vice versa. They would visit each other at work, which is really cute. When you've been together for a while and you're visiting each other at work just to see each other, like, to me, that says love. So anyway, her and Katie had dinner together at work, at Emma's work, and then she leaves. Katie says, I'm going to go walk Bowie and go home. She's like, have a good night. We'll see. They have other dogs, but Bowie was he was best with Katie. He was Katie's baby, you know? So she goes back to the house. She, I believe, changed or did something. She went to the house for a little bit, walks right across the street to the park, which is very, very close. Like, you could walk out of the front door and be there in 10 seconds, you know? She's walking Bowie, and at that moment, Emma is finishing up at work and on her way back home. Last time she saw her partner, they were enjoying a dinner together or having a quick meal before she walked the dog, and then Emma gets off work. So Emma goes home, okay? She goes home, and she's at home, and she notices Bowie's not home and Katie's not home. She says, what the fuck? That's weird, because it had been at least 30 minutes to an hour, something like that. It had been enough time to where she should have finished the walk and been back. They have Find My iPhone features so that they can track each other. A lot of people think that that's weird for some reason. To me, it's not. When you're two females living alone in a very busy part of Atlanta that does have quite a bit of crime in different pockets of it, and you walk your dogs alone at night, you work in a bar district, I don't think that's weird to want to check up on each other. I also think that it's just a good feature to have in case you lose your fucking iPhone. So the fact that she thought of that pretty quickly and was like, oh, let's see where she is, because this is weird. And she checks and she's not moving. The dot for her phone is staying in one spot at Piedmont Park, and it's right at the entrance, and you go a little to the left. So it's right, you walk through the front gate where it says Piedmont Park, and you go a little to the left a couple of feet, boom. That's where she found her girlfriend's body. As she finds it, she also sees Bowie eventually. And there is a guy who is jogging past, and he stops, and she's upset and she's kind of losing her mind. And the guy's like, what is that? And she's panicking. She's trying to figure out what's going on. And she's like, my girlfriend. Like, you'll hear in a little bit. There's a 911 call. At that point, she calls 911. They come out. It's like 1:30 or something in the morning, and they discover this. Now, here's the thing. Emma, it had been very quick from her making the phone call to that happening. They have her on video at work. They have an exact timeline of her walking home. She would not have had the time to do something like that, first of all. She was completely clean. She didn't have any blood on her whatsoever. She was the one who called it in. And there's proof that she tracked it using her phone. So as far as I'm concerned, Emma's in the clear. And it's unfortunate, and she's a victim too, having to find her partner like this. She immediately calls her dad. Emma calls her dad. Now, a lot of people question, why didn't they call Katie's dad? Why didn't they call? Here's the thing. Katie's dad was in prison. And one of the reasons he was in prison is because of some shit that had to do with his ex. Katie assisted in testifying against, I believe, her dad's ex, which also threw her dad in the mix, but there was no animosity. Her dad was in jail for some stuff that happened that had nothing to do with this in a completely different state. And he was not angry at her, nor was his ex, for being a part of that case. And a lot of time had passed. So there are theories out there that, oh, Katie's dad hired him. No, that's bullshit. Didn't happen whatsoever. I'm not going to go into that case or the whys I believe that. It is on public record, but it's a disservice to the victim. I'm scared it could actually spread more rumors and, quite frankly, dignity. You know, it had nothing to do with it, and it's not a part of her story. I don't think it's relevant at all, and it would have likely been impossible as well for anyone involved there in a completely different state to do such a thing or to know her whereabouts, let alone it's just the motive is so weak for that. I just don't see it. Another thing you need to know is the day after this happened, she was within hours, she's supposed to board a plane to go to Detroit or to go to Michigan to visit her family, her mother, and I believe her sister. But anyway, she was supposed to be in Michigan the next day. This obviously devastated her family, but they were out of state, and the news that was covering this was in Atlanta. So one of the reasons you don't see a lot of interviews with her mom or her family in Michigan is because they weren't covering it in Michigan. They were covering the case in Atlanta. So her mother, because she didn't live in Atlanta, was in Michigan. So that makes sense to me as well. Another thing that you need to know is that there were a ton of cops on the scene, a ton of cops. They completely shut down the road. There are people on surveillance who are exiting the park after when they think this murder happened within a precious, crucial time window of a couple of minutes. And it took some time for them to identify who these people were, but eventually they did. With that said, I'm going to let it continue, and I'm going to put a link in the chat. Hudson, if you're still watching, this link is for him. Please, nobody else pop in on it. This is for him. And I'm going to let this play through. Here we go.
Was she followed? Did this person go in or out of the park in close proximity to her? Or was this person already in the park laying in wait for whoever came by? See, there's somebody walking their dog right now. This happens all the time.
CBS 46 CSI investigator Cheryl Mack McCullum offering her expertise to analyze what we know about the murder of 40-year-old Katie Janness. McCullum is not involved in the case, but has years of experience under her belt.
When you have this level of violence, law enforcement in any case like this, not specifically hers, but any case, is going to look for post-mortem injuries.
Janness was found stabbed to death at a gruesome scene in Piedmont Park just after 1 a.m. Wednesday. Her dog was also killed. Her partner, Emma Clark, made the discovery after pinging her phone.
She was a really good person. She never did anything bad to anybody.
Atlanta police requested the FBI to assist in this case. The Bureau can offer resources such as profilers.
Was she, posed in some way? Where exactly was she stabbed? All of those things are going to matter to the FBI.
Janness was last seen on camera walking her dog in Midtown. This picture is from 1 hour before police responded to the park.
They're combing every single frame from that time. There's no doubt about it.
Atlanta police are not releasing many details as they investigate.
They are looking at the victim's background, where she worked, did she have any customers that were harassing her? They're going to talk to friends and family.
In addition to an autopsy being performed on Janness, an necropsy is being performed on her dog.
Either that dog attacked the killer, which is a great possibility, and when law enforcement arrests somebody and they're interviewing them, maybe they'll have a dog bite.
And then lastly, the incident in Piedmont Park. It was my decision to call upon the FBI after having conversations with Chief Hampton on what we had in the park. I called upon the FBI, one, because they are a strong partner that provides a level of resources that we just don't have. And I did so based on the information that he provided. As the mayor stated, this homicide, this murder was outside the norm of what we would typically see. The mayor stated that many of our homicides that we have in the city of Atlanta was acquaintance, but this was so unique that I felt that we needed to collaborate with as many resources as we possibly can. And therefore I asked Chief to get in touch with the FBI immediately. The difference in doing so is that we have the ability to get the FBI on the front end as opposed to bringing them in lately. And again, I attribute this to our partnership and the relationship that we have with that agency. And so I'm confident that we're doing everything that we possibly can. I've had conversations with the DA's office and the sheriff's office, and everyone is willing to contribute resources to this. So without going, no, I'd be remiss if I have to reiterate what the mayor stated about false information. We have to make sure that the information that is going out to the public is factual. I think that quite often what we are now hearing is a lot of sensationalism and misinformation as it relates to what we're seeing, and it is really causing us more problem, especially with the community that we serve. We have to maintain a level of integrity as it relates to this case. It is important to us that we resolve this and not be distracted by misinformation.
Good morning. As many of you are aware, on July 28th in the early morning hours, Katie and her dog, Bowie, was tragically taken from our community. Katie was a devoted daughter, sister, wife, a friend of many. She was a talented songwriter. She was a vocal advocate for social justice. Now it's time for us to give justice for Katie. As the mayor said, as Chief Bryant said, there's a lot of information out there. We as the police department and our investigators, we have a duty to abide by the laws of the courts and the rules of evidence. We'll be wrong to put out a lot of information in the public. We thank you for your concerns. We thank you for your cooperation. Most importantly, we thank you for your patience. This is going to take time. I assure you that the men and women that are assigned to this investigation are working around the clock. As Chief Bryant just said, the integrity of this investigation is important. There are things that only the individual or individuals responsible for this know. This is very important when we apprehend them. This is what we use as to further our case in order to bring them to justice. I know there are a lot of questions. And again, we're going to continue to provide information when we can and when we deem it's necessary. What will happen shortly after this press conference, we'll be releasing still photos of 6 individuals that were in and around Piedmont Park. And what we're hoping is that these individuals will come forward and to let us know, hopefully that they saw something while in the park. I'm not saying that they're responsible, I want to be clear about that. But we believe that we're hoping that they saw something that could further and help our investigation. Again, the investigation and integrity investigation is key. But I just thank everyone for their cooperations and again, for their patience.
And just a couple of things before we transition to COVID. I know there have been several rumors that there is a serial killer on the loose in our city. We don't have any evidence of that. Also that this was a hate crime. As of now, we don't have any proof of that as well. This is not to say that things will not change, but at this point, we don't have any confirmation of either of those things. So I want to clarify that.
The FBI.
Okay, so to be clear, they said that was the press conference from right after. They said it wasn't a hate crime. What's interesting, and they also said it was all sensationalized, right? When the autopsy came out, we found out a couple of things. And this is the part where you're going to want to earmuffs if you're just trigger warning for violence. Her eyelids were cut. She had the word fat carved into her with a knife. She was sliced from her breastbone all the way down to her private area and disemboweled. She had her breasts nearly completely sliced off. She was stabbed a lot, a ton. all over her upper torso, including that long slit down her belly. Again, the word fat was carved into her. I've been studying carvings probably harder than any other subject matter since this case came out. And the data on that is kind of wild. I'll tell you this much. The most cases that I could find in relation to attempted murders or attacks with carving in them, specifically with demeaning speech. Oddly, and this is just what I found, and I don't think that it necessarily speaks to this case, but oddly, I do think there's something psychologically connected behind the intention. Quite a few lesbian women use this for hoaxes. Now, this is not a hoax. A woman died. But there have been a few cases in the last 10 years where a female who identifies as a lesbian carved into her own skin messages and faked an attack to get attention. One was in Nebraska, and it was a shocking case. But they were proven to be hoaxes or attempts to get back or revenge at someone else. In those cases, those people were figured out and prosecuted. But what's odd is that this actually happened to a woman who is an LGBTQ woman. And a lot of the information on these other cases has been brought up in the conversation of what happened to Katie. Now, I find that to be another wormhole or rabbit hole, whatever you want to call it, that I should warn you about. There's a difference between killing someone and mutilating their body and someone who mutilates themselves for attention. Mutilizes, that's not a word. And while that is disturbing to think about, I also find it very strange that that's the mentality behind the people who do the hoax in addition to their background. I don't know if there's any link to necessarily an offender profile based on gender or sexuality that correlates with carving, but I did find that an abnormal number of them, in my opinion, seem to be related to the specific sex and gender, but they also tend to be hoaxes. So when they're real, what do we have? There's a man in San Antonio who intended to kill his wife and carved hate speech into her, hate speech specific. There are a few serial killers who attempted to torture using this method, but that was back in the 70s and 80s. But the other large demographic, it seems, tends to be gang initiations or just gang violence. Gang attacks on females in particular seem to be based around either an initiation or getting wasted, wrong person, wrong place, wrong time. There's quite a few different elements that it could kind of go any way with that. But as far as a consistent profile specific to the type of people who do carvings, yes, it would be like sexual sadists. The problem with the data is that the amount who are killed and then have these carvings, that's not really, this is a rarity. What happened to her, that specific word, part of me wondered if it was a different word they were trying to spell. But when you read the autopsy report, you realize not the case. That means it took some time, in my opinion. But the fact that they also did that to Bowie, very disturbing. And it also made me wonder, I mean, without a doubt, I think whoever did this, there's mental illness. There's some sort of something going on in their head. And that led me to get really deep into it and start digging. And oddly, the ones who survived, it seems to be either hoax or personal. The ones who died, it often ends up being a serial killing, a targeted attack, a random attack from a crazy person. I personally don't think it's personal. Let me explain why, though. In case anybody forgot, a gang attacked me with a knife, and the girl was coming at me. The girl, not the guys, they punched me. The girl had a knife. She was smiling at me when she did it, and she was on crystal meth, I think. I did not know them. It was random, but I started looking at that year how many other attacks there were in the US, not just Texas. A lot of them seem to be related to a very specific group of prison gangs. And I thought that was weird. But as we look at trends in society, I think that it has become less of a personal or targeted thing, especially when it's done in a public place at a random time. So that's my opinion on it. I'm about to bring up someone you guys know as Satan. And he's the first person to write to me about Katie Janness. And I was so freaking excited because me and your good old Uncle Alex used to talk about that all the time. Like that was our case. That was the case we looked at constantly. And it always stuck with me. And it kind of bothered me that nobody ever brought that case up. I was like, I wonder if it's just not familiar to people beyond Georgia, you know? But pretty quickly, I get one from Hudson and he echoes a lot of my sentiments. And that's when I was like, wow, okay, there are people who still talk about this and there is something weird. There was something weird going on there and I couldn't figure out what it was at the time. But it had to do with the lack of tenacity, in my opinion, from the police. I'll bring him up. Let's hear what he has to say. Give him 1 second. Hudson.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, is that a Veuve Clicquot hat? Yeah. I can't say the word. Hat.
Did good.
So, Satan, hello, welcome, everyone. Satan, give a clap. I need to get like a clap sound. I don't want to read the email that you sent me about Katie because it's very long and it kind of makes me sad. Like I remember crying when I read it because it was like, oh, like. And part of me thought when I first read it, I'll be honest with you, I thought this guy must be like her brother or something. Because the way you talked about it, you genuinely cared about this case. What were your thoughts when this happened? And what are your thoughts now, a couple years later, 3 years later? What do you think about this case? How do you think the response was to it? And what do you think could have been done better?
Well, I met Katie years ago, so we had the same circle of friends.
Yeah.
I didn't know her well. I knew her from going out. I knew her from social justice and activism circles. Mm-hmm. And she, from everything you said is accurate, is what I would say that people say about her and her personality. And she was not someone where, that lived a fast life or a risky life or anything that I know of, that it was just really shocking, really terrifying that this happened. Where it happened, who it happened to. I can't think of anything more surprising, shocking,
yeah,
happening to her. And, I hear a lot of people saying, well, why was she out there at that hour and stuff? But I think when you live close and you work close to an area, in this case, a park, then you have that familiarity makes you less afraid. Mm-hmm. And then you have a job to do, which is to walk the dog, make sure he gets out and does what he needs to do. And I think it was just part of a routine,
Can I stop you there for a second? Because you just said something really smart. You said that, she's the familiarity makes her comfortable, right? Because she lives right there. That's where she walks her dog all the time. And other people,
because of bartending and stuff,
Yeah, and other people said the same thing. They're like, that's where I walk my dog. And there were people they interviewed on the news who's like, I'm not gonna walk my dog there anymore. And it's like, bitch, calm down. But she's familiar with it. So when you look at a crime like this, it's this brazen. In my head, I either go to whoever did this is also familiar with it, because if she is comfortable enough to walk her dog, and her comfort in walking her dog lends us to believe we know it's because she's familiar. She's been there.
Yeah.
So if she's comfortable to walk her dog in that area because she's familiar with it, to me, it's not a stretch of the imagination to think that the person who would do something like this was likely familiar with that area too. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't. I'm really conflicted about what I think about who could have done this. You know, it could be anything. I mean, Atlanta is that way.
Well, what about mental illness combined with knowledge of that area? Would that be like a bit easier to digest?
Like a lot of big cities, and we have a severe homeless problem, and we have a severe mental illness problem in this country, obviously.
Yep.
So we care nothing about addressing that. And so, you know, people blaming Emma, you know, which it's, you know, that's sensible, you know, to look to a partner or someone that's close to the person, of course, and they, you know, like you talked about in this crime of passion thing, and that is obsolete. But we also see certain really frenzied overkill attacks too when there's mental illness involved or drugs. But we have a lot of that going on, and it can't, you know, and you see that in places like the Park or downtown Atlanta, or, you know, and it's being a big city. We have a downtown. We don't have a city center necessarily. I feel, you know, like I've lived in New York City. You go out and you feel safe because it's bustling. There's something going on all the time. You know, at all hours, there's going to be people around. Atlanta's not really like that.
Yeah, and downtown is pretty far away.
Yeah.
And oddly, it feels like a central park, but really it's more of like a park slope, I guess, of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, there's a lot of dark places and dark corners, and, you know, people can pop out on you, and that can happen in the daytime as well. So, but I think that I just feel like probably she was comfortable, you know, with, you know, Atlanta's not a, you know, like Sherlock just said, Atlanta's spread out. It's a driving city. It's like LA. You have to have, I mean, you don't have to have a car to get around, but you need a car to get around. Really.
It reminds me the most of San Antonio, because in San Antonio, if you're taking the Via bus, you're trying to get to the south side, people will laugh at you if you're on the north side, because it's like, bitch, that's a 6-hour fucking day on the bus.
The only place I walked in San Antonio was the walk, like the
river walk. You pick
ago.
an area and that's it. You're just there. Yeah. It does feel like it's a separate world, because I remember when we were going through downtown and even south of Atlanta, it was so vastly different. And then when you get to Piedmont Park, again, that I would say Park Slope is the closest, in my opinion, in New York, because the leaves are different. The design is different. It's arty as fuck. There's so many art vibes, but also you go on the other side of it and there's a part where I guess you could call it like the projects. And the only reason that area, I thought it was pretty cool. Like there was a lot of hustle and bustle, and there was a lot of, at the time, people selling food on the street. And I don't know why, but I chose that night to go eat the hot wings, which didn't go well for me. But I will say that I did see a guy get stabbed, and then when I wanted to use a bathroom at a gas station, there was like 7 inches of glass, and then the lady threw me a thing with a big ass wooden plank, and was like, and she was like, "Good luck, hon." And I was like, "What is that, Tone?"
You need that. They don't lose the key, and then you have a weapon on the way. So
well, I needed it because when I opened it, there was just diarrhea all over. Like, and it was the worst thing I'd ever seen. It was honestly the worst bathroom I'd ever seen. And I was like, I will just shit my pants. I don't need this. Like, I don't need to go in there. I'm terrified. And then everybody in the van laughed at me. We were on tour. I was on tour with the band. And then they're like, "Oh, you didn't get to, oh, you're just a baby. Just put some toilet paper down." And so they went in, and then they came out and was like, "Let's get the fuck out of here right now." Like, it was not good, you know? And there was a lot of fighting going on in that area. But the thing is, people bring up the rough parts and they forget that, like, that's a good walk. It's like you're in a separate world, even though it's like really maybe a mile or less away from where this crime happened, which really seems to be probably closer to like in Austin, it would be like Hyde Park. It's like a historical area. It's very cute. One of the reasons I really wanted to bring you on tonight was kind of, I know this sounds weird, but I was a little excited to show you some stuff. And it's not really necessarily a joy because a lot of it's fucked up, but more like an excitement to get your take on it. Especially because you've met Katie, and I seem to see a trend of there's like 2 or 3 very mentally unwell people online who push a lot of like QAnon and trafficking propaganda that's not real. Like, really, instead of focusing on real cases, they literally make up stuff like that one guy, Solomon, whatever, did a long time ago with the Madeline Soto case, like an adult man who claims to have been sex trafficked by Epstein. Like, just he posts a lot of, he's got mental illness and he connects every case. He spreads Bryant Koberger propaganda. He's been taking over kind of any space occupied that has to do with Katie Janness's case and trying to kind of commandeer it and place blame on a lot of weird entities and in some cases Emma. And I've seen a lot of her friends speak up, her old roommate, some of her homies who have been like, no, shut this shit down right now. And they come correct. And I really appreciate how protective everyone is over her legacy. But there are some things that I noticed. A lot of them did not speak to any law enforcement, and they tried. Like, they tried. They called the FBI, they called the GBI, they called the local police, and some of them even approached officers on the scene as they were kind of cleaning up. And the officers ignored them. They said, we'll take your information, and then they never got a call back. That seems to be a trend. I want to read you some things that I found over the past few weeks.
I would add to, like, when people, online and stuff, their criticism of, Emma calling her dad. I think that's totally normal for anybody to call their dad, especially a woman to call her dad. But
he's the only parent close to both of them.
To go there to the park, to share a location, to go to the park, like all of that's normal to me. I don't think that points to like she did it or anything.
Me too. I don't think it's weird at all.
A lot of people, especially in certain communities and stuff, they're reluctant to call the police first, and then too, Atlanta police are not going to respond immediately to a call like that.
Yeah, they're not.
To meet me at the park to check on my girlfriend, like they're not.
Yeah. And also, like, I think that she thought, I mean, she discusses it. We'll see some footage of her in a minute, but I think that she immediately thought like, oh, that's weird, and just wanted to know why she wasn't moving. Like, is she okay? Is something wrong?
Right.
I'm gonna read you some interesting stuff that I found though, and I want to see what you think about.
Did she get hurt, or something?
Yeah, did she get hurt? Is a big one.
Bowie, and she's there with him, like,
what if Bowie chases a bird or something and she falls and sprains her ankle? You know what I mean? Like, it's something as simple as that, but then you get there and you see that, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So one of the things that was crazy that I'll just tell you straight up, their old roommate and me talked quite a bit. And he's a fabulous gay man who he's like, we used to party and we used to hang out, but they're full of love and they got this dog at this time and this dog at this time. And he spent a lot of time looking into their case, and he might come on one day. He's still like fucked up from it, obviously. But he was around when their apartment caught on fire. And one of the things he debunked for me, because a lot of people were saying, everybody who accuses Emma says, it's weird that their house burned down. That just proves to me that Emma already tried to kill her. And it's like, are you out of your fucking mind? He informed me that the old landlord, which I did actually look into, and I found this woman and everything about her. Trust me, he's telling the truth. Bit of a hoarder. Had an electrical wiring problem in this really old house and had a lot of flammable shit around it.
Yeah.
And it was so bad that like the firemen had come before due to a small fire hazard. And she was basically told, like, you need to get electricians to fix this because you could die any day now in a fire. This is bad. And that happened. A fire happened and Katie and Emma lost their home.
Yeah.
So that happened, and it was in no way arson. It was investigated. I believe they even got like a small insurance payout. Emma's dad helped them get an apartment after that, which was the one that they were in with Bowie and the other dogs. So that friend, we'll just call him Bill. He is friends with Katie's entire friend group. One thing that he told me was that he dated a guy who was like abnormally tall, like very like 6'7" or something like that. And that guy had said some kind of weird stuff that made him uncomfortable, made him think that there could be something wrong with him, and it was just like a one-night date. And he has posted before that like he should be looked at, but he did tell me that Katie used to walk her dog by this laundromat nearby. And at the laundromat, there is a guy who, he's not homeless. He actually lives in one of the project houses nearby, the really tall one. And that fella is known at the laundromat because he's obsessive compulsive and kind of eccentric. And he's a chubbier dude, and he's really big and very tall, and he's very old. And that this guy, he will not do laundry if there's too many people, if there's somebody at his machine and dryer. And if there is, he gets really pissed off and he talks mad shit and he says violent things. And he will purposefully fold everything. Like, he described this guy to a T. And he said, and if you don't believe me, like, there's this guy at this gas station that's right there that Katie always stopped at. And he goes there right after he does his laundry. And he has been known to threaten people outside and get himself in trouble. And he gave me the name of the gas station. So I called there and I talked to this guy for like 45 minutes. And he's like, oh, yeah, that dude. And he's like, they've called the cops on him before. He even remembers times when Katie would walk by and the guy would say, you fat, ugly bitch, I'm going to kill you and I'm going to kill your fucking dog. And he'd be like, keep that fucking dog away from me. And he'd say crazy shit and threaten the dog. And then she would go, let's just walk around him. And she kind of stopped going in that area because of him. So I asked the guy at the gas station, do you ever call the police? And he's like, oh, yeah, they don't call me back. Like, I haven't heard anything back. I asked her old roommate, have you seen that? He's like, I was on the walks with her. Like, this guy's terrifying and he freaks me out. And I said, did you try to call? Yeah, they literally will not call this guy back. Even when he tried to give them references on the fire, because they were asking questions about, what started that? Like, even the police were asking questions about it. He wanted to let them know, like, I was there and this is what happened. So oddly enough, around that time, the pictures came out. They released the photos of the people who were exiting the park and the ones that they had yet to get in touch with. And the really tall looking guy with the cane was one of the guys. He looked at him and he said, this looks like one of the guys that I was talking about. And I was able to kind of find him in various spots on Google Maps. And I'm like, holy shit, like, it all lines up. So that's it. I tried to call it in and nobody wanted to hear it. Okay. So here's another one that I found. So I'm just going to throw out all the things that I found that are fucking weird. There was a woman, and I'll probably play this tomorrow because we're going to do a multi-part show, but there was a woman who was walking with her dog near the Fox Theater. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Small Pomeranian, I think. Guy is walking by. He's a crazy guy. He fits the description of a really skinny African-American male in his 20s talking to himself in baggy clothing, and he's just saying crazy shit. And he walks by and he says, you fucking fat bitch, I'm going to kill you and your fucking dog too. Like, he's the Wicked Witch. But then he curb stomps her dog in the head. And it was on the news. And it was right by where this had. It's what, a mile away? So oddly, this was within the year before that shit happened to Katie. Then a woman, well, here's another one. Then there is the roommate. He speaks that day when they see what happened on the news to Katie. One of his other friends who was really close to Katie called him. And this is what he posted that friend said to him on the phone. I have a friend that was out and about walking his dog before Katie was murdered. He and a friend witnessed a crazy man near the Federal Building, which is a few blocks away up that parkway. This man was yelling at my friend about his dog and making no sense. After finding out about Katie, whom he knew very well, he calls the FBI, tells whoever he talked to what happened, and then he needed to talk to an agent. They said one would contact him, and did they? No. It blows my mind. In my opinion, that is a very strong lead. How is this guy not a suspect? Two people can or could describe him, what he was saying and wearing, and all the witnesses here is an agent will contact you and still no agent. Who's in charge? What the fuck? I think a friend even called back and still hasn't heard from anyone. Ridiculous. Please share this. So at that point, I was like, well, what was the guy saying? The guy was saying the same shit. You stupid bitch. I'm going to cut you. I'm going to stab you. I'm going to kill you. And I'm going to kill your dog. And he's yelling it from across the Federal Building at someone in a parking lot. This was that morning. So 12 to 14 hours before Katie was killed, that guy said that. So I said, what's the description? And it happened to match the description of the guy who curb stomped that other lady's dog before. And then I find another one. This is from a woman named Melissa. Okay, she lives in another state. She was visiting Georgia. All right, this was 6 weeks before Katie dies. 6 weeks before Katie and this is on Nextdoor, by the way. I contacted her. I've spoken with her quite a bit. She's probably going to come on and talk to us about this. 6 weeks before Katie and her dog were killed, a man threatened me and my dog on the Beltline near 5 Points, which is very close. I'm not from Atlanta. I don't know if that is near Piedmont Park. It is, right? It's right there. The Beltline at 5 Points? Because there was a guy stabbed on the Beltline, right? Could you hear me, Hudson? Are you looking it up?
Yeah. I was looking at
mugged.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very close. So he said repeatedly that he was going to stab my dog. I tried to report it and no one cared. I called twice after she died and no one cared. I called twice today and no one cared. Not once would anyone even take my name or number. This case is not a priority for Atlanta police, I guess. I'm so sorry. Someone said, I would never walk down there. Sorry. And she says, I haven't taken my dogs to Atlanta after that. That's why I don't go on any Sam Club walks. I don't know what that means. So they say you need to follow up, put a report on record. She says, I tried to fill out a form on Crime Stoppers website. I got to the end, click submit, and got an error message. So then I talked to her. And I'm like, well, let's do the same. We'll try it from my computer. And guess what? I got the same error message. Then I tried to call Crime Stoppers, who just like Crime Stoppers in Houston asked me, well, what am I supposed to do about that? A lady saw something 6 weeks before. That's not good enough. What? So not only that, she described this man. She said, not much taller than me, maybe 5'8" or 5'9", which is the exact description of the other guy. Thin build, African-American, not super thick, but a little muscled. Short hair, no facial hair, nice looking guy, but absolutely dead eyes. Very similar. Early 20s, looked right through me, just kept saying, I'm going to stab your dog. I'm going to kill your dog. I'm going to stab your dog. Exact same description from all the others I just read to you. I have the most unthreatening dog. She was not in his space. He came up to us. It was the scariest experience of my life. Okay. So with that said, this other person says the Piedmont Park murder is scary stuff. I was walking right where she was on 10th and Piedmont, not more than 10 to 15 minutes before. Really shakes your sense of security. Somebody inquires with this guy, oh, really? Where? And he says 10th and Ivan Allen. And they start discussing it. And that's when we find out this guy, I believe, was the jogger. And he's like, I had no idea they were looking for me. So he ended up calling in and finally getting in touch with police. But even they wouldn't call him back at first. And they were looking for the guy. So with that said, that's not even it. There is a whole other one. This one is, oh, hold on one second. There was one that had to do with.
That's Mochi, the cat. That's my girl cat.
Hi, Mochi. Oh, geez, wait, where? Okay, this one is July 18th, 10:30 p.m., 700 block of Peachtree Street. In that situation, the description of the suspects were very similar to the Piedmont Park attack from this weekend. The victim in the Peachtree incident was grabbed from behind. However, in that situation, okay, this is a different one. So this is the one right around the time that this happened. There was somebody who was grabbed from behind and attacked by 2 black males and 1 black female. And they attacked them from behind and they tried to kill them, but ended up just robbing them. And here's another thing is everybody in these situations seem to have earbuds in. There was one more. I'm probably going to have, here it is. Here it is. So this is 7:28 at 8:53 a.m. This was another one on Nextdoor, totally separate person. Okay, I want to be clear. This is a totally separate person. This one really blows my fucking mind because there are pictures and it matches the same description from the ones I just told you. So I'm actually going to share with you here, let me share this tab instead. Hold on one second. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is aggressive man threatening to kill my dog and I. And this is literally.
Yeah.
You remember this one? I think I sent this to you.
Yeah.
Has any other woman while walking her dog come across this man? And he matches the exact description. The man in this video at 8:53 a.m. today, 8:27, in front of the Plaza East Tower, 950 West Peachtree. We see that again. High kicked at me about 5 feet away and yelled, "I will do it again. I will kill you and your dog, you bitch." He was very aggressive. I happened to see him again at 2:15. When I went to the CVS coming out of QT, I tried to get in front of him and take a video of him, not noticing, but he took a turn down 5th, and I do not feel comfortable following. No odd behavior while following him, except staring at women walking by longer than what's comfortable. No one had a dog, and I wonder if a woman and a dog may be a trigger. And there he is. So I tried really hard to call this in too, and no callback. I've contacted all of these people. All of them have yet to get a call back.
Yeah.
Have you ever even heard of anything like these stories happening at all? Let alone in relation to a case where the exact same thing happened in the exact area?
Right. And such a gruesome, violent murder in a nice area. So you'd think there'd be some interest.
You would think.
Where
And
might not usually be.
And they're not following up with critical tips and leads. Like this guy matches the description of every single other guy who never got caught. And some of these people haven't even gotten to report it because they make it damn near impossible. So at that point, what do? Here's what I'm thinking. I want to show them, and it's not just that. It's a few other things. I'm going to play. Let me play. Hold on. These are some of the other things that happened in the area. But I also want to play for you the release of new video and the possible witnesses, because people will see this. Ooh, and I want them to see the people who are around. The jogger who jogs out. We actually read one of his posts earlier. I want you to know that right behind that light, there's a little curve, and that's right where the body was found. I want them to get an idea of the area. I'm going to let it play through this, but there's also a couple of short cases that also happened in that area that it's going to play after, and they're really short. The one I want you to pay the most attention to, though, everybody, is the guy with the knife threatening people, okay, in Piedmont Park, right where this happened. That's the one I want you to pay attention to, and it was like right when it happened. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and play this with the possible witness, and then I'll play the other weird things that happen that are very similar, okay? And Hudson, I'm going to bring us down so they can see this. Hold on one second. Share this.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm
No, go ahead.
confused about where where she, went to like the vigil and everything like that when
Mhm.
when it happened. I have read though that she was found right inside the entrance, and I have read that she was found 100 yards into the park. What have you seen on that? Because I don't know which is right.
Okay, so she was
'Cause
killed
that's
when you walk in, there's like a bend of a curve and then it goes back.
Yeah.
So she was found right there after the curve, and then Bowie was found further up.
Yeah. But not
So
very far away from her, right?
not very far away.
Few
They
yards.
uprooted a tree where it happened and took the tree as evidence, roots and all. So right when you walk in, if you look on, I'll even show you on Google Maps. Here's another thing that's weird. I was looking for any graffiti or anything that said fat or any
Yeah, we
anything
talked a lot
that's-
about that. I'm not even sure if they're meaning the word fat. Maybe that's an acronym, and they're
Yeah.
it's for something else,
One thing I noticed is the month before this happened, on the metal electrical box right outside of the park. Oh, hold on, let me let him in. There's nothing on it on Google Maps, and then right after this killing and in the news footage, you see the word slut written upside down in permanent marker. And I thought that was kind of weird because it wasn't there literally a month before, but then at the vigil you can see it.
Yeah.
And cops are fingerprinting that box, and you can see that on the footage. And so that makes me wonder if this person like hung upside down over it and wrote some graffiti.
Also, the letters on Katie's chest were upside down. She was
Mhm.
lying supine, which is on her back, but the person who carved it appeared to be at her head and writing it that way. So it was effectively, if you're looking at her upright, is effectively backwards.
It's very, very strange. And I haven't seen them mention anything about that. But anyway, I'm going to hit play so we can see this. And everybody just take a look at the area.
As part of their investigation into a deadly stabbing inside Piedmont Park, Atlanta police have released this surveillance video. They say everyone in these videos was near the scene of the crime when it happened, and they're hoping someone saw or heard something that might help.
Yeah, tonight we are learning 9 security cameras inside the popular park don't work. Fox 5's Angelique Proctor explains.
This fatal stabbing has rocked Atlanta and is now grabbing national headlines. For the first time today, we heard from Atlanta police about what they are doing and what help they need from the public.
Katie was a devoted daughter, sister, wife, a friend.
Atlanta police vowed to get justice for 40-year-old Katie Janness and her dog. The talented songwriter and vocal advocate for social justice was stabbed to death at Piedmont Park. Deputy Chief Charles Hampton Jr. says his homicide team has been working around the clock on the brutal killing, saying they are making progress with old-fashioned police work.
Working is our tactical canvas, going back out to the crime scene, retracing our steps, talking to neighbors, asking people what they heard, what they saw.
For the first time, we are seeing video and still images of potential witnesses in the case. Please take a closer look. They are men and women who were in and around the park at the time of the slaying. Police say they are not suspects.
I hope that they saw something while in the park. I'm not saying that they're responsible. I want to be clear about that.
There has been a lot of talk about the surveillance cameras in Piedmont Park. The city revealed there are 9 cameras inside the park, installed in 2008. So far, they have not been helpful.
Those cameras are based on obsolete technology. They do not integrate with our video integration center.
Mayor Bottom says 250 cameras will be installed citywide by the end of the year as part of Operation Shield. No doubt many of those cameras will land in the popular park. City officials say Piedmont is safe and want to dispel rumors on social media that misrepresent the facts.
I know there have been several rumors that there is a serial killer on the loose in our city. We don't have any evidence of that. Also that this was a hate crime. As of now, we don't have any proof of that as well.
The city's Dogwood Festival is this weekend, and officials say the park is safe. Cops teams and Zone 5 officers are patrolling nightly. In Atlanta, Angelique Proctor, Fox 5 News.
It all happened at Piedmont Park, and the women claim a man threatened to attack them before someone stepped in to intervene. Fox 5's Deidre Dukes joins us live from Midtown Atlanta. Deidre, these women now say they don't feel Piedmont Park is safe anymore.
That's right, Courtney. The women say they have always enjoyed Piedmont Park, have always considered it a safe space. But after Monday's incident, they worry that it is not.
We got babies over here.
Tyler Lee posted this video on Instagram, which captured her frightening encounter with this unidentified man at Atlanta's Piedmont Park Monday afternoon.
He comes over and starts literally yelling at us, cussing us out, saying that he will beat us up.
Lee, her friend Brittany Sanders, and Sanders' 2 young children were enjoying an afternoon in the park when they say the man appeared out of nowhere and began harassing them.
And this was broad daylight, so this was at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So it wasn't at night or anything like that. And there was a lot of people around. So like I said, I guess people didn't really intervene at first because they didn't know that we didn't know him.
The women say the man started throwing things at them. That's when Lee started recording him. She said the bystander in the video who intervened as the man walked toward them with an object in his hand helped de-escalate the situation. She believes the man was mentally ill.
He walked up to us and then had like a big old like object, like we don't know what it was. Obviously, it probably was like a tree, but like it was so sharp to the point where like I was a little nervous that he was going to run up on us and like try to like stab us.
The women say they spoke with police officers in the area, telling them what happened and were told they would keep an eye out for him. We contacted APD about the incident. They say investigators are aware a video has been circulating on social media that appears to show a male acting strangely in the park and report that incident is still being investigated. It has not been confirmed who was involved in that incident or if a crime was committed. Lee says she already felt uneasy about going to the park following last month's murder here.
I'm never going to be on park again.
Sanders is grateful that bystander came to their rescue.
Luckily, the guy that stepped in, he stopped him at the right time because we didn't know what we were going to do. I mean, we didn't want to walk off because he was following us, you know, so thanks to the guy that stepped in.
How do I?
And the man who helped, who was shown in that video, intervening.
I keep trying to adjust this. It's not working. Fuck. It's fine. I was trying to make it so that we would both be, it doesn't matter. StreamYard sucks right now. I don't know what's going on. So, I just want to point out that lady spoke out also on social media and they never got back to her really. Like they were like, yeah, I was a crazy guy, but no, nothing much else about it. That's it. I find that to be insane because that was within a month. Like,
and
so
supposedly there are like 30 some odd cameras at Piedmont now, but you know, since they've installed more, but that's a 189 acre park.
Yep. And also the cameras. Important to talk about that. So the
very
cameras,
very Oak Beach, isn't it?
very. And also, I mean, it's so it also has Austin vibes. Like I would say that y'all should call it Austin, Texas Park because there's parts of it that are terrifying, that suck, humid, mosquitoes, and then there's parts where it's like, look at this hippie wonderland paradise. You know what I mean? Like it's just gorgeous. It's lush. It's green. It's just that thing that AJ's. Did you say your brother or someone worked on it?
Yeah, the lady.
So gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the thing though. The cameras at that entrance were broken.
Yeah.
They had been broken for many years.
They just left them up there like some homeowner with fake, you know, cameras or security signs.
Not only that, but they bragged about it. They were like, well, they're up there. We thought that would be like,
That would
they
be
did
helpful.
the whole, this is going to spook people. Like we did at Spencer's in the mall. Like what, dude? Like this is a public park. And they did have a rash of hate crimes going on. I do have a couple of news pieces here ranging from, you know, burning gay flags, cutting up gay flags, going and doing burnouts in that fucking, what's it called? The car show shit where they spin out and they ruin the crosswalks. And then the comments on the news stories of them doing it are some of the most hateful fucking comments I've ever seen. A lot of them are like, oh, go cry about it, you big gay. Like, it's just like, oh my God. And it seems like the gay community have been speaking out for a while, saying just have a community forum, have a symposium to ease our feelings, like to talk to us, to tell us what you're doing to be proactive, to investigate this. And they had yet to have any city leaders do that as of 2 years after the murder. People were really scared for their own safety. And so they were demanding cameras. But what's crazy is you go back and you look at months, years, and even decades before, and there seemed to never be any actual working cameras other than a 3-month period until they broke.
Yeah.
As if that's not crazy enough. I'm going to read you real quick an account from the, and here, let me actually pull this open and then we'll watch some more stuff because I know, Hudson, you've seen this. I know I've sent this to you, but this is what I'm talking about. I'm going to make it big so everyone can see it. This is what I'm talking about when I say, let me zoom in more. So they were searching around here. Now, people falsely attributed this blob to Bowie. That's not Bowie. Now right here is the crime scene area, and like where they were doing, they were just searching for stuff. I think a weapon, likely, more than likely the knife. But they seemed to focus on this right here. And when they were doing some fingerprint dusting, it looked like they hit this part up. And if you look at the bottom of this upside down, it says slut. Prior to this date, I looked through every single picture of everyone I could find who was in Piedmont Park for a week leading up to this, standing in the exact area, and Google Maps, people who were standing right next to this thing, and that was not written on there. So that bothered me right away. It's also upside down, just like the words carved into Katie, and it is being looked at, obviously, by police. So that is the thing that I was talking about earlier. And here is a picture of it in January 2020. There's nothing written there, but that's a while before. So here's another thing I want to do. Hold on, let me pull us back up. Okay, here's another thing I want to do is I'm going to read to you the account from the... Oh, yeah, there's another thing. Emma made a post of Katie and their other dog within hours of this happening because it had gone out on the news. And she had put in her post, my favorite doesn't get much better than your pups and your lady. And then she talks about the picture. And at one point she says, like, Bowie does not approve in the comments. And people were like, that's such a weird thing to post right after. So Bowie does not approve is something that she puts on every single picture of Katie cuddling with any dog besides Bowie. It's a joke that Bowie's jealous. This was the final picture she got to write that on. She had a habit of writing that, it seems. I looked through her social media. She writes it on every picture without Bowie. People found a way to attack her for that and blame her. What a sweet little kitty kid. Oh my God, I'm distracted by this sweet little kitty. Hi, kitty. So I'm going to read to you the security guard that night who was working when this happened. His girlfriend made a post about it. And just to do my diligence, I went ahead and went and found the boyfriend and checked, and that is his job, and that was his job history, and he was working that night, and there is history of him talking about this. So I want to read that to you. Hold on, I just realized I have 46 pages of notes to scroll down through. And I will play the 911 call also. Here's another guy that no, I'll read that another day. That one's crazy. But there's a peeping Tom in the area right around that time, like a month later too, who also matches that description. So that's pretty nuts. There's another girl. Some of these I want to show you, but I need to edit out names and maybe blur some faces. But there is one girl, I'll tell you this much, who was on the news that evening. So they found her at like 1 something in the morning. So the next morning, that afternoon, when it had been all over the news for at least, 16 hours at that point, there was hold on, let me see if I can maybe pull it up to show you. Give me 1 second. Okay, no. Sorry, I'm trying to find this exact thing. There was where is it? This would actually be pretty important. Show you, it doesn't matter. So there was a piece where they were interviewing people who lived in the neighborhood about this park. There was a woman who looked just like one of the 3 women that are exiting the park right after Katie. was killed. She like exactly like her. And the woman in the surveillance video is walking with a group of 2 other women. They're interviewing these locals in the neighborhood that, goddamn it, fly the next day. And this, what the fuck? Sorry, there's a moth. And this woman's being interviewed, and while she's being interviewed, she's got a hand brace, but her fingers are all wrapped up, and she's got cuts, and she's got a cut on her nose, and she just looks all fucked up. And she's talking about the murder, and she's talking about like it's just horrible that these things happen in our neighborhood, blah blah. But her hands are bandaged, and she has a wrist brace, and she's got all these wounds on her face. And she also has one earbud in. And one thing about Katie is didn't she have one earbud missing according to the autopsy report?
I think so.
So, and it was like I believe it was an apple. And nobody said anything. Like, I'm sitting here watching this woman getting interviewed, glossy-eyed, looked like she hadn't slept. She's got cuts on her hand. She's got a wrist brace on. She looks exactly like the person exiting the park with the other 2 women. She's speaking on the subject, and her nose is busted, and she looks all fucked up. I'm like, I wonder if the police ever looked at her, but it was just an interview with the media, and nobody in the comments said anything. So naturally, I'm like, hey, what the fuck happened to her hand and her face? And doesn't she look like the person that they're searching for in this footage? And then I felt so guilty about it. About 12 hours later, just took it down. I was like, nah, because what if she's innocent? And I don't want to fucking dox someone that's mean. But I can't help but wonder about that bitch every single. And you know, I've only seen one interview with her. It's so buried. It took me forever to find again. I like to blur the face and maybe like, I don't know. My question to you, Hudson, is that something that I should, I feel like if I can get a hold of anyone, is that something I should maybe point out, or is that shitty? Like, they said that they've talked to almost everybody.
I think when you have to point everything out, you know?
Right? This fucking moth is relentless, dude. Get the fuck out of here, dude. I let him go twice. I didn't even kill him. And he's coming back, getting in my face and stuff. Okay. So where is the freaking, I want to show you guys I'll just tell you, because it's so hard. I'll tell you, and then I'll show you on the next episode. The security guard's girlfriend said that night he actually got into work a little bit late. It was like, no, nobody noticed, and he slips in and he has to do these rounds. And she explains how the rounds start at certain GPS checkpoints, and the way that you check off that you have done your round, which you have to make it to a specific number of points throughout the park. So as a security guard, you come, you clock in, you can eat right away, or you can wait and take a break and eat at one of the security substations. There's just a couple of them, and they're just these small shitty buildings. And so when you go make your round, you have to go to each individual place, and planted throughout the park is a thing where I believe it's QR code, but they're going to change it soon to like thumbprint is what I was reading. But the security guards go through and they scan with their QR code with their phone that, yep, I've been here and everything looks safe. And you have to make it through all of those in a certain time frame, and you have to do like so many rounds a night, and then you can chill. And he decided that he was going to eat his food at this one substation on that specific night, which was a few hours before the murder. He was going to eat his food there, and then he was going to go about and finish his rounds. And he gets a call on the radio from someone saying, we need to go check out this suspicious vehicle, because it was parked right outside of a substation, and it's not a parking spot. It's like, I believe it's located like on park grounds. So there's like a car right there with someone in it, and they were in an area they weren't supposed to be. And it was so weird that one of the other security guards called, and they were like, yo, you need to come up here and check this out. And he said, well, it's on my round anyway, coming up. So let me finish my food and I'll go. So he like finishes eating as he runs out. He's on his way there, and he's like, holy shit, what is this? And there's just so many cop cars. And that's when the cops are like, yo, were you on call? Like, are you the security guards? Like, what the fuck? And then he saw her body and the dog. And she doesn't go into, thank goodness, into depth on what he saw. But him and the other security guard were totally freaked out because they never heard anything. They never saw anything until they approached it. He said if he wouldn't have eaten his food, according to her, he would have likely been doing the scan right at that moment.
This entire thing allegedly happened within an hour.
Yep. And they never did really figure out what was up with that car. And not only that, the security guard confirmed that they really don't, it seems they don't give a fuck about the security, or they didn't until after this happened. But even before, there were murders. There was a stabbing at Piedmont Park of a guy. A couple of years before that was very much like hers. And a lot of people try to attribute it to that. And then other people try to attribute it to some sort of serial killer who then moved on to Little Rock, I believe. There's this guy, Little Rock Slasher or something. And people were saying that's the same guy. But this person didn't carve. And there was no killing of an animal. So it's just strange. And for some reason, people are like Brian Koberger. But if you look up you can literally compare his timeline. You can see where he was at the time. Or at least you could until they took a lot of his shit down. At the same time as Katie, because trust me, I looked and it's just not possible. Like, and he has no history there, and it's
crazy.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with it. But I guarantee if you type in Katie Janness on YouTube, a bulk amount of the more recent videos you're going to see are going to be people trying to falsely attribute this to Brian Koberger. And as much as he definitely, in my opinion, did Idaho, there's no fucking way he did Katie Janness. And also, she would beat his little scrawny ass, like, without a doubt. Like, we got to remember, she was alive and conscious. The kids he killed were passed out and inebriated. Yeah. Like, this is a big difference. And she had a pit bull. So, like, totally different victim profile.
Which is another reason, too, that she felt relatively safe. A lot of people feel safe walking with a dog, especially a pit bull.
Yeah, and it's not, a lot of people go, oh, this is a killing of opportunity, but I don't think it's an opportunity when there's a pit bull that fiercely protects its owner.
Yeah.
To me, you got to be fucking crazy to approach that shit. So that's why
I don't know. I don't know how Bowie was with, Bowie was Emma's dog.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they both took care of the dog like it was their kid. They had another dog. Katie's dog was older.
Yeah.
Didn't get walked like as far and as much as like that. But, sometimes killing of a dog, it's a necessity if you're trying to go after that person, and a lot of times dogs that people think will be protective or not, or vice versa, the ones that, you don't think will attack, and it's kind of unpredictable sometimes.
I also never got confirmation about a potential muzzle. I don't know that Katie would muzzle Bowie. The people I talked to said not likely, but they also said that she's very protective of Katie, but like Emma's dad, the friend group, not weird. It depended on Katie. Like, if she felt threatened or she was uncomfortable, Bowie would get aggressive. Yeah. But he wasn't like Chloe, no offense to Chloe, but yes, he was a pit bull, but he was a lover, not a fighter. Right. So part of me also wonders if this person might have lured Bowie with a dog treat.
Bowie could have been friendly and then got killed,
Mm-hmm. And we do know that there were a ton of defensive wounds on Katie too. So that tells me that, like, there's a chance he took care of Bowie first, obviously, or did something to disarm Katie and then take care of Bowie and then go back after Katie. But there was also signs of, basically, after she would technically be dead, he continued to cut and carve into her. And that's really disturbing. And he did it in the pit of darkness, but so close to a well-lit entrance. It's like if there's a shadowy area in the bushes like 100 feet from you and you don't see anything because it's pitch black over there, but you're under a street light and there's people walking. Just as much as you could drive by the dunes in Gilgo and not see what's going on in there, right. I feel like it's not that unbelievable that people didn't notice something if she had passed pretty quickly, and so did the dog. In that case, I do worry that this person could have had time to do things like that, but it makes me think they must know. Like there's some. How do they know that that's a safe place to do that? I guess.
Yeah.
In time. I also wonder if it was a homeless person who was maybe mentally ill and they're sleeping, and then Bowie comes up to sniff or to be like, "What are you?" And they see a dog and they freak out, attack the dog. She's like, "What the fuck?" And then they attack her.
Yeah.
That's what I picture in my head. Is that reasonable? Maybe carving was an afterthought because they were still angry. I don't know.
It's possible. Yeah, I even thought about, because she was a lesbian and she was bartending and stuff, maybe she, had rejected a male patron and,
maybe cut them off
or something like that, because we know that, men's often their favorite thing to do is insult the woman that thwarts their advances, after they were just,
yeah.
I don't know.
Her coworkers from that night did say that there was nothing unusual about like the people, like the cost. She didn't have any customer conflict, like any time in that week. Even it does make me wonder: did she cut someone off as a bartender? And then that pissed him off. I think about the guy who is over there at the laundromat folding his clothes very carefully, who threatened her. But I also think about the same description of that guy who's been seen literally all around the park within blocks, screaming and threatening to kill dogs and calling women fat bitches and then stomping a dog's head. Like the lack of follow-up to that, including guy with a knife, totally separate guy trying to attack women with a knife in the park.
Yeah.
Or whatever that with the sharp dragon glass. I don't know what the fuck that was.
Yeah.
It's all odd, and I've never seen a case that was this crazy, but also has so many possibilities, and they're telling us that there's no leads. I see 3 very distinct groups that could be investigated.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah,
Well,
and they just keep saying they keep not having anything, but keep doing these, like you said earlier, these little updates to remind us that, we're thinking about it. And, it's Pride Month too, in most parts of the land. In Atlanta, it's actually technically October. They moved it, but it's still, people are celebrating. So they probably feel a little pressure to say something again about this case.
It's literally like horrible timing for her. Like we've got Pride Month in the area of the town where it's like, this is where all the gay people hang out. This is a place that's supposed to be happy in a celebration area. And this is supposed to be a time when, they're celebrating their freedoms and all these different things, like, who they are. And it's got this like cloud, this dark rain cloud over a rainbow. And it makes me sad because it's like, they feel left out. There have been no real press conference and like community meetings to ease the tension or to discuss a game plan. And it took months to get the budget to fix the cameras after a woman was murdered.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate that we only seem to hear about it on the anniversary. And this isn't blown up more. Like people aren't talking about it more. And I wonder, is it because she's 40? Is it because she's an adult woman? Is it because she's gay? Like, what is it? Is it because this is a brutal crime?
Yeah, all of it, I feel.
Yeah, the part of the park where everybody hangs out, though, it's one of the larger open field areas. Yeah. And when you walk out, it's just like, it's literally like almost like a funnel into a massive possibility of directions to go. A gazebo right there, a duck pond right there. You've got a big statue. You go this way, there's trees. There's a parking lot. You can see through the trees, which I found interesting. But then on this side, if you look this way, you see nothing because there's like a line of bushes. They ripped a tree out by the roots and stuffed it in a truck because they believe that it had some evidence on it. And they went all the way down to the roots, and I found that strange. But they picked up a ton of evidence in the area that would be considered like foliage, cigarette butts, like things like that. You can see them on camera investigating the entrance, the outside, every piece of graffiti all the way into the park, a good amount of ways until you get to that first lake. And it's strange because it's like, did the person, they even went down to this little lake where it's like a creek and it's way further up. It's like almost half a mile, but it bends and then boom, you're there and it's gorgeous. But it's a place where in order to get to the other side, you'd have to swim a good ways, but it's not impossible. And they had divers and shit around there. And it made me, when you look at every place that they investigated, and I believe they might have used scent dogs, if I remember correctly, it all led to that lake. So I do wonder, are they searching for a murder weapon there? And did the person take off running covered in blood into the darkness deeper into the park north and then dive into that water and swim through and then get out and come out a completely different entrance? Strange. Here, I'm gonna play some more stuff. I'll pull us out and I'll play some more so they could see some of the other shit that goes on in that area. So here we go.
Has received high praise on social media. And we do want to reiterate, as for the man who the women say was harassing them, he has not been charged with a crime, and police are still working to determine whether or not a crime was in fact committed. That's the latest here in Midtown. Deidre Dukes, Fox 5 News.
So scary. Deidre,
Right now, Atlanta police are working on a new plan to have dedicated police officers patrolling major parks in Atlanta. They are set to make an announcement later today about what the plan entails. 11 Alive's Mara Sirianni is in Piedmont Park for us today. Mara, what is prompting police to take a closer look at safety in the area?
Well, part of the reason there's been such a focus on crime in Atlanta parks is because of what happened right here at 10th and Charles Allen, the murder of Katie Janness. And so people I talked to say that stepped up patrols here, police patrols, would really make them feel more at ease.
So it is a little unnerving given that some of the crime has been taking place, but so that would definitely help because there is what seems like to be no patrolling within the park itself.
But I think as long as I don't go out at night, I feel pretty safe.
I talked to people this morning exercising in Piedmont Park. They say the unsolved Katie Janness murder is in the back of their minds when they're here. But when you really take a look at crime in Atlanta parks and stats this year compared to years past, crime is actually down. So according to APD data, in 2018, there were 330 crimes across all 96 community, neighborhood, and regional parks. In 2019, there were 301 reported crimes. In 2020, 335. And so far this year, only 165, with most incidents over the past 4 years happening in Piedmont Park. Police say 11 of those incidents have been considered violent. They also say they're not surprised. This is a popular park. It's also the largest. Now, I did ask for an update in the Katie Janness case. Police say they are still tirelessly working this case. They're also still getting help from the FBI.
All right, Mara, thank you. And because that case got so much notoriety and it was, such a startling incident, I think a lot of people are sort of really thinking about that as it relates to our parks. Developing.
Welcome to Up Late, everyone. I'm Ron Jones.
And I'm Aisha Howard. Right now, the hunt for dangerous thieves who stabbed and robbed a man just outside Piedmont Park in Midtown.
That's right. Now they're looking into whether it could be connected to another similar crime. Let's get straight to Elwin Lopez. She joins us live right now near where the latest crime has taken place. Elwin?
Yeah, Ron, we're actually at the location where officers responded to a violent attack on Saturday. As you can see, there's been quite a bit of traffic.
Hold on. I want to add me and Hudson to the stage real quick because I want to slow this one down and I want to let you guys know this was 5 years ago. This happened almost 2 years before Katie. Just a heads up. Same area, okay? Just to be clear, totally separate case, same area before Katie, about 2 years. Just want to be clear on that. Okay, back to this.
Traffic here, but we have not seen a lot of people walking out and about tonight. Police still looking for 3 suspects involved in not 1, but 2 stabbings.
I think it's probably the city's most substantial park, so it's incredibly important, and it's unfortunate this happened in front of it.
In front of it, 2 times violent attacks less than 10 days apart near Piedmont Park.
Doesn't really worry me. I mean, people have to live your life, and I think definitely you want to have increased security around here.
The first on July 18th on Peachtree Street Northeast. Police say 2 men and a woman in their teens or early 20s approached Jesus Ibarra and invited him to a party.
walks a few blocks with him. When they get him into an isolated area, they then grab him from behind, bring him to the ground, kick him several times, and then he's stabbed 8 times.
The crooks snatched his wallet, and a similar attack on Saturday, just before midnight on Monroe Drive Northeast. Police say William Bridges was listening to music while trying to cut through Piedmont Park, heading toward the MARTA station.
He was grabbed from behind in a chokehold and brought to the ground.
The 3 crooks kicked and stabbed him several times and stole Bridges' wallet and cell phone. Michael Emerson works nearby and says everyone should be on alert.
Take the headphones out and pay attention to where you are, what's going on. Don't trust anybody you don't know.
And police say be aware of your surroundings, and if you can, don't walk alone. As for the victims, Ibarra is back in California where he lives after spending several days at the hospital. The second victim, Bridges, is still at Grady Hospital tonight, Aisha.
All right, thank you so much, Elwin. Let's.
Okay.
This morning, the search is on for violent robbers who attacked.
So this one I believe is the same. Yeah, this is the same cases, but this is a follow-up. Just a heads up. This is a follow-up to that case.
A man near a popular park, and now police are trying to figure out if the group is connected to a similar attack just days prior. Chrissy Etheridge joining us live from Piedmont Park, and Chrissy, APD urging people to be aware of their surroundings, right?
Shiva, that is so important because in this most recent attack, the man was wearing headphones about to cut through Piedmont Park when 3 attackers came up from behind him, put him in a chokehold, and slammed him to the ground. This happened Saturday night about midnight as he was just trying to get to the MARTA station. Those suspects kicked and stabbed him several times before stealing his wallet and his cell phone. And now Atlanta police believe this attack could be connected to another one that happened about a mile away from here. Back on July 18th, there was another attack very similar to this on Peachtree Street, close to the Fox Theater, only a block or 2 away, when 3 attackers.
Did you hear that part? Close to the Fox Theater. So I'm a big fan of patterns. Have you noticed the pattern here? Because I have. Stabbings, Peachtree, Piedmont Park. Okay. All of them seem to involve people with earbuds in, oddly. The Fox Theater thing tripped me out too. That's actually a little bit further down, but the direction and the timing is weird. So every single case I mentioned, including the sightings of the guy who stomped the dog head, the guys threatening people the morning of, the woman who was from out of town 6 weeks before, these 2 attacks and attempted murders, and then the other one we saw earlier, all involve people with some form of earbuds in. They involve the same streets and park, the same description in half of them. Oddly, in the other half, it's a group of 3. Then there's one that is on a beltway going under a bridge where there's surveillance, and these 2 fellas walk by a guy, turn around, they look at him, they turn around, they follow him, and then they do the same thing to him. And that was, I believe, after Katie. All of them at one point or another had spent time on Peachtree Street. So I just want to note that pattern. Hudson, you know the area the best. I saw the gates, and I did look up that gate. It's one thing I want to point out, and correct me if I'm wrong. Piedmont Park, all the gate entries kind of look the same, even though they're totally different areas, right? So they all have that tower. How tall would you say when you're walking up? I wish I could show a picture, but we'll see it on the surveillance in a little bit. But when you walk in and there's the brick wall and then the gate, how high would you say that is? Is that about 7 feet? Because it looks like it goes above everyone's head.
I would say at least,
okay.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a guy you guys are going to see on some surveillance in a little bit with a cane. Worked a lot with some people who are way good at math and tried to get him to do a calculation based on size ratios of other people who are stepping in the exact same location and then literally looking them up in court records and finding their height. And then we compared it to this guy with the cane who walks out. And he seems to be around 6'5" to 6'7". So you're going to see him later. But I just wanted to point out there are some trends here, but also these entrances, you might see one and think, oh, that's where Katie got killed. And it's actually the entrance down a few blocks. And I just want to stress that because it's not the exact crime or the crime scene, but it's very close in proximity. And I have mapped it with the sightings of the guy threatening dogs and saying, I'm going to kill you, bitch, you're fat. And it seems to all follow from Fox Theater up around the left side and then cupping under the bottom of Piedmont Park. Almost like if you were doing a San Antonio spur, you know what I mean? But then the spur itself went down the street. That seems to be the general location. I just want to point that out. But do you think that is this a place where as an adult man, you feel uncomfortable walking at all at any part of the day or night?
Not in the day, but at night, yeah, you could definitely.
Okay.
And and people, just because you don't know who's going to pop out, like because of what we were talking about, earlier with the mental illness problems and things, and all the unhoused people around the area that,
Does it tend to be high trafficked
at that time of night?
Mm-hmm. No. Okay. I'm gonna let it play some more. I just find it very strange because even when you look at the camera footage that is available, you don't see a ton of people, but within 30 minutes before, there's so many Snapchats, Instagram, Facebook posts of people in the area, and it looks light. That reminds me a lot of here because the second it gets dark, that's when everyone leaves the park.
It's like that guy was saying earlier in that news clip, like, you just got to be aware of your surroundings. And possibly, if this was targeted, somebody, could be looking at people that do have AirPods in and they're listening to music and they're not hearing somebody come up on them,
Another thing I find weird is I don't believe they stole anything from Katie. I could be wrong, but they didn't. I don't know that she had anything to steal, though, because she was walking her dog.
Yeah.
But in the ones involving men.
Autopsy report did say that she had the one AirPod.
Yeah.
And like nothing,
nothing taken.
Major, just effects. Yeah.
And a lot of the others that involve stabbings, they take something. They take like a wallet or they steal like jewelry or something like that. So I do want to say that is a difference.
She also, too, like, trigger warning to people, about violence or sexual assault. I know there was a rape kit done. I don't believe there was evidence of sexual assault, but her breasts were mutilated. And I think there were wounds to the mons pubis. Things like that.
There was no, I don't believe there was a sexual assault either. It was
gendered violence,
And I hate to say it, but it's very, I shouldn't say, I'm going to say it reminds me a bit of Jack the Ripper minus the sexual element, if that makes sense. Like literally the things that they did to her were very, very disturbing. And they reminded me of that. I do have, let me see if I have some files saved. I can show that so this is very interesting. And again, I do not want to spread a conspiracy. I just want to be very clear on that. Yes, 50 stab wounds, Tiff. And we are going to look at the autopsy briefly. There is one woman who posted something very quickly after this happened. And when I first saw it, I took it with a grain of salt, but because I thought, Shirley, don't call me Shirley. That's not what happened to this young lady. But then the autopsy was released after this post, a good amount of time after this post. And it lines up almost exactly with what this woman says. And it does have some stuff blurred out. So I'm going to put this on the screen real quick to show you guys because hold on, let me stop sharing this because this is a post that was made by a woman who says that her, oh, you know what? I'll just read it to you. That way we don't have to wait for it to open. This is a post by someone on Instagram who says she posts a screenshot of a conversation with someone, a text conversation. She blocks out their name. The person says, Otis, my sister's boyfriend, which, God damn it, Otis is going to be pissed. Otis, my sister's boyfriend, is roommates with a Norcross cop. And he just told them that they found a girl. She says chopped up. Later, she says cut up in Norcross tonight. So everyone never be alone anywhere. There's something horrible going on right now. Now, that is a totally different case that she's talking about. But then this person puts up a screenshot of a separate conversation she had with another person, and she comments, I don't know what to do with these screenshots except share them. Why is nobody talking about this? Because what in the ookie spooky criminal mind shit is this? And then she posts, so did it, and this is the conversation she's having with someone. All she says is no, but someone asks her, did I tell you the details that the police are not releasing in regards to Katie Janness's case? She says no. And then this person responds, and this is her cop friend. Okay, so her pubis area was cut up. She was sliced from her groin to her neck. He sliced her breasts and cut off her eyelids. They believe, the Atlanta police, that this is an active serial killer investigation and there are no suspects. Tell literally every woman you know in Midtown, since the fucking police aren't releasing this, and everyone needs to know there's an active serial killer. Now, this is her friend who's roommates with a cop and himself was a cop. This was before the autopsy was released. When the autopsy was released, when I tell you, I was guffawed because everything she said in that is true. According to the autopsy, that's when my head started spinning going, fuck, is it a serial killer and they're lying?
Yeah.
So that bothers me. And it makes me wonder, maybe let's not close the door to that possibility just yet. We'll just say that. I'm going to play the 911 call in a minute. Let me go ahead and actually, I'm going to add it to my media now so I can play it for everyone. They can hear it. Here we go. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. I wish I was more organized. But there's like a lot of elements of this case. And I also need to make sure that I don't share anything that could, you know what I mean? Like break any rules or cause problems. So I need to make sure everything's like blurred. Okay. So this is the 911 call from her partner finding her. And you are going to hear a guy in the background. And that guy, I believe, is the jogger that went by. Not the one that's in the footage, but there's a jogger who spoke to her as she was making the 911 call, actually, as it's processing. So I'm going to let that process. Nope. Okay. That's not, well, maybe, oh, I didn't do it right. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let this video play. I'm going to let it continue to play these other cases from that time while I load this in. I got to load it on deck, you guys, so that you can all see it. And I'll be right back. Hudson, just watch this and tell me what you think.
2 men and a woman came up behind another man walking, did the same chokehold, threw him to the ground, kicked and stabbed him 8 times before stealing his wallet. And Atlanta police say the level of violence to these robberies is concerning.
That's our biggest concern here is that, I mean, we've had these stabbing incidents and the injuries have already been fairly substantial. We really don't want this robbery to escalate into a murder situation.
Now, one victim is still in the hospital recovering. The other one has already been discharged. But Atlanta police say suspects use victims' credit cards, so they're hoping bank statements and records can help track them down. Shiva.
Midtown Atlanta has been on high alert since Katie Janness and her dog were stabbed to death in Piedmont Park 2 weeks ago. And still, after all this time, no one has been arrested. And now a post on Nextdoor is going viral, claiming there was another attack in the park just weeks before. So let's verify the facts.
The next door message claims a man who's mentally ill attacked someone with a machete a few weeks before Janness was killed. We took the claim to Atlanta police to find out more. The public information officer checked the records and found there was one case of aggravated assault with a knife in the park on July 4th. But the attack was described as a poke, and the suspect in that case was arrested at the scene. So no, according to APD, there was not a machete.
I just want to point out one of the reasons why I didn't include this in the next door post and stuff earlier is because of this. I just want to be clear. If you see this post and think, well, this should be added to the pile. No, this actually was confirmed to be some people dicking around, and it was not a machete. Leave that up to Austin. We're the ones with the crazy machete guys. Okay. Quit trying to be like us. But this is, a different situation, and it was not on Citizen, but there was a lot of public documents that I was able to find, and you can find some stuff on the scanner, but it was not a machete. Just to be clear, they are right in this. In my opinion, this is all debunked. So if you see this and get all like, remember I told you there's a mentally ill guy that keeps trying to push different narratives. Same guy. Okay, same guy. Here we go.
Attack at Piedmont Park in the weeks before Janness's murder. At this point, there's no indication the incident on July 4th is related in any way. Police have told us repeatedly there's been a lot of misinformation shared online about this case, and they're working to stop the rumors. If you see something you want us to verify, email us at verify@11alive.com or text the word verify to 404-885-7600.
Good afternoon. My name is Sergeant Brandon Hayes, Atlanta Police Department.
I just wanted to throw this in here because this happened today. Same area. Just thought it was odd. And about a week or two ago, they had people in a car group that did one of the most massive donut burnouts ever seen in that neighborhood, destroying the streets and the gay pride flag walkways on Pride Month, which I find very offensive and shitty. And it's the one I was telling you guys where people were just being awful in the comments. And they seem to have had a pretty big rash of disturbing incidents, particularly around Pride Month in this area. And this just happened today. So I was like, gonna put it up because what the fuck? And I was just curious, what is this? Does this seem like something that is ramping up, Hudson, in that area? How long has it been since you've been around there?
I mean, in the park, it's been a while. Like I drive by there pretty often, but of course it's ramping up because, hello, you know how political I am. Everything. So
agreed.
Too far into that on your channel, but let's just say people do feel emboldened and galvanized more than ever.
Yeah. And I don't blame them because, again, when you look at the comments, it's some of the most hateful shit I've ever seen. I mean, people in Texas wouldn't talk like that. I'm like, goddamn. It's pretty mean, to be honest, and it feels unwarranted. And this is in a community that doesn't get the attention it deserves for psychotically violent crimes like the one that happened to Katie.
Yeah.
It bothers me so much. I'm gonna let it play.
Last night at this intersection, we were notified of multiple males, 6 males in the area that were riding around on scooters, and they were in the middle of the intersection defacing gay pride flags. Units quickly responded to the area and were able to locate the damaged flags in the center of the intersection. At the same time, the males were still in the area and passing by. Officers quickly approached and were able to detain 4 of the 6 males. The 4 were arrested and charged with criminal mischief. 2 are still outstanding. If you hear anything or see anything or know anything in relation to the 2 males that are outstanding, please contact Crime Stoppers. Okay. Every crime taken in this area is going to be prosecuted to our fullest extent. If you see something, say something, please let us know. Okay.
This obviously came during Pride Month. This is the end of Pride Month here. It happened in the Rainbow Crosswalk. Can you talk a little bit about the fact how APD wants to make sure that the community here feels safe, even though this was not like a attacking somebody, but they were going after a flag, and you guys have called this a hate crime?
As far as it being labeled a hate crime, that's still under investigation. We're still looking in all avenues as far as how that charge will possibly come about. APD was able to respond quickly. We got to the call in a very, very short amount of time. So that just goes to show that we take this community very seriously. We take all of Atlanta seriously, but definitely in this area, we want to make sure that the residents feel safe and that we will respond as fast as we can.
Do you know where the flags came from?
We're still under investigation. That's still something that we're looking into. We'll have more information for that forthcoming. Okay.
I got 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
You do believe the 6 of them were together, though?
We're looking into that. I believe so, though. Yes.
And will the scooters play any role in identifying? Because don't you need a car to rent the scooters? Does that play a role?
Well, like I said, as far as identification goes, we have some good leads, and we have 4 of the 6 already. Okay.
Now, released that several of them came from Dallas, Georgia. Did they come here? Do you guys believe they came here specifically for this, or was this just part of the path they were trying to do?
All that's currently still being under investigation. We'll have more information for that as the investigation unfolds. Okay.
Regarding surveillance cameras, have you been able to, locate any surveillance from these businesses? Have you seen anything else on there that you could describe to us?
We've got some pretty good leads as far as video surveillance. There is video of the incident. We're still looking into more, see what video we can gather from the local community. That's still in progress. Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
That's it. Details surrounding the gruesome murder in Piedmont Park.
Now, this is going to go back to the security element of Piedmont Park, the cameras, stuff like that, the setup, what's going on in the area. We will watch this in a second, but I want to pull up now for you the 911 call from that night. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and play that. And it's a 2-minute, 41-second video. For any of you who are starting to pass out because you're getting tired, I just want to remind you, fuck me, right? That was real mean. But you know what? Some of you are lagging because some of you are...
High. You're both high.
This is how I keep you on your toes, okay? Now, here's the 911 call. Please have an open mind that this is a woman in shock who just found her wife and pet murdered, okay? Here we go.
Atlanta 911, operator 7959. What's the address to your emergency?
Sir, I'm at the entrance of Piedmont Park. I just was searching for my girlfriend's phone because I couldn't find her. She's dead. She's here at Piedmont Park. Please help.
You said somebody's dead at Piedmont Park?
Yes, sir. Please send help. Please.
All right, yes, ma'am. I'm gonna send help to you.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
All right, can I get your name? Get a callback number? All right. Where's she at in the park?
She's right near the entrance. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Did you just see that? That's my fucking girlfriend. What the fuck? Yes.
All right, hold.
Please, oh my God, dude, she's like, she's dead. Like, it's so fun.
All right, I'm about to call Grady, okay?
Please.
Grady EMS, what's the address of your emergency?
Hey, Grady, I have one for 1073 Piedmont Avenue Northeast.
You have a call on the line?
Yes, ma'am. Are you still on the line? Okay, I guess she must have disconnected. She said her girlfriend is dead in the park.
Okay. Girlfriend is dead in the park?
Yeah, at Piedmont Park.
Okay. Did she advise where at in the park? The huge park.
She was saying that she was at the entrance.
Okay, at the entrance. Okay, can we get fire and PD? I'm 915.
Yes, ma'am. I already sent them. Thank you, 915.
Which operator?
7959.
All right, thank you. We'll have up and route.
All right.
Okay, so what we just heard, there was a lot taken out. But you hear the guy in the background, he jogged up and he goes, "What the fuck?" And then she says, "It's my fucking girlfriend." And he's just completely like, "Oh my God." Like he's seeing what she's seeing, you know. She's on the line with 911. They I believe that she actually did stay on the line, but she was her phone, something happened. She was talking to the guy, and I think that eventually she did get disconnected, but the other guy also, I believe, called police, if I remember correctly. So that happened. To me, she sounds terrified, freaked out, and she did call immediately upon entering the park. Like she enters, and then police already checked her. They checked her phone GPS. They know exactly where she was all night. She was never at any point in the park with Katie other than finding her body. So I just want to nip that in the bud right the fuck now. Emma didn't have anything to do with this, in my opinion, and according to all the evidence we've seen. To me, she sounds traumatized. And there was a witness who found her finding the body, who was also using the same colorful language and extremely surprised, it seems, and upset.
Emma was saying, people were talking in the chat about like her saying that she's dead. She was going by how she looked. I don't know if everybody realizes how mutilated Katie was.
It was horrific.
Yeah.
I am going to here. Let me bring us back up because I'm over here scratching Mookie's. He keeps headbutting me. So we are going to have to end this pretty soon because I am getting actively headbutted by a Boston terrorist. I am going to play this for you. Speaking of the autopsy report, this is a news story about the autopsy report. You're also going to see another news story from that time. I'm going to start it off with a follow-up. It's going to go through the images of the people that they were trying to get a hold of. And well, it's not necessarily relevant now because they did get a hold of quite a few of them, I believe. I just want to show it to you just so you're not like, oh, this is some new shit I found. No, I prefer to really not show you anything that's been debunked, but I've found that if I don't, then I get a lot of people going, have you seen this? It's like, yeah, and they debunk. And it's just a bummer to have to keep letting people down with, yeah, they know. And we're going to start with the another report where they talk to some citizens in the community. Then it's going to talk about the autopsy. And then it's going to go into here. Let me put this right there. And then it's going to go into new photos of possible witnesses, just so you get a good collective of everything that happened. Hudson and me have already seen these, but the autopsy report here is very, very. What happened to her is so NSFW that the news really had to sugarcoat it a lot. They
Oh no. Send her a message. Hold on, guys. I went to show the dogs. I'm offended, but I'm offended she hasn't shown them, but I'm in charge of my emotions. So. StreamYard, she's logging back in. Should we get back right back and wants me to keep you entertained? I don't think I can do that. Not like she can. Talk amongst yourselves. Ask questions. I'll answer. How does StreamYard kick her off and leaves me on? How does that work? Maybe I do have special powers. But I did not will that to happen. The cats jumped up and ran away when Taylor Shabusiness came on. They're just now coming back.
What the fuck, StreamYard?
How does StreamYard kick you off and leave me on? That doesn't make sense.
Literally just says, like, the whole screen goes white and then it says connection broken or something. It like pops up. It has a little weird logo. It says
separate connections. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if I try to reload it, it goes to a Cloudflare. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I have to exit out the entire tab. It happened when StreamYard updated. Now it just does this. I thought I swiped myself out Melanie style the other day, but no, StreamYard's just been doing that, and it's done it every stream. It's wild.
Sucks.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know. I wonder if it's because they're doing the show comments on stage beta, because I noticed when they put that in, other functions started getting fucked. So I don't know. I really don't know why it does what it does, but it's StreamYard. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, they're sugarcoating the autopsy report. It is very, very bad. Yeah, and that's another thing is it took a while for them to report it back. I will tell you something weird. I'll tell you, this is probably, I don't know what to think of this. This is another thing I tried to tip in very early on. Again, no one would hear it. And also it was almost embarrassing to say it out loud or try to figure out how to say it out loud to a cop. Why'd I say it like that? Because I've been listening to Yannetti and them, all the interviews, a co-op. Yeah, it's embarrassing, honestly, trying to tip some of the stuff I'm about to. I'll say it briefly. I don't even know how to put it. So I'll just say it. Before her autopsy, well, actually, let me start here. When her autopsy report came out, it was extremely disturbing. And as soon as I got it back, I did a FOIA request, and I didn't have to. I could have just pulled it off Scribd. I did not realize the news put it up. So, shame on me for that. But I did, when I pulled it up, it was not redacted in the way it was on the news. So I was able to see some things in it that I hadn't seen before. And I was like, wow, this is way disturbing. And the full document had so few, if any, I think maybe one redaction like at the top, that you could literally like copy paste what was in it. And I was curious because at the time I showed you that, or I read to you that post that the person had posted about the serial killer thing and what they had said about the eyelids, the breasts, and being split down the middle to the pubis region. And I immediately thought of that when I read the autopsy, and I went, oh my, like, by God, that girl was right. Like, maybe I should go see what else she posted and see if, like, does she, like, obviously her buddy Otis know, or, that she knows someone, because it was dead ass and they hadn't released it at all. It'd been weeks before.
Yeah.
So when I did that, that's when I realized, like, wow, this, this person got it. Like, there was one or two little things in it that were exaggerated. She was not cut up into pieces, but she was sliced, and stabbed, which are actually very different. Like, one was a slice, another was a stab. There were different.
Her jeans and underwear were pulled down to her knees too.
Mm-hmm. And it's a situation where we've also been seeing, there have been a few cases where people were, similar things happened to them, pants down, not sexually assaulted. In my case, pants down and not sexually assaulted. And that is a sign of a gang initiation. Is when your pants are pulled down, but you are not sexually assaulted. Why? Because to degrade you. That's one things that is pretty common among all gangs is pulling your pants down is degrading, pantsing someone.
Can
Also
effectively disable you in a way too.
keeps you
If-
from
if
running.
it's to start with, yeah.
Yep, and
Hobble
it's,
you know.
yeah, and it's such a thing that, and we talked about this, and I think Darlene, one of you guys, maybe even you, Satan, like stated that like there's, and I've heard this from friends who are EMTs that specifically in Memphis, like
That's where I was.
is that you? Yeah, you were there too. You don't let someone get put in an ambulance with. You don't let people see. You don't cut their clothes off until they're in the
Yeah,
ambulance.
we had a class where police came and taught us special classes to our class on gang violence and responding to that.
Yeah, and you seriously don't you don't want, even if you suspect it's a gang, whether or not you do, you try not to take the pants off or cut the clothes because other members could be watching nearby, see that as a humiliation and retaliate either to the EMTs or to you or to the gang. So you just want to keep that at a minimum when there's suspected gang violence. Now, I find it interesting that the pants were pulled down at all, considering the mutilation that was done to her, and it was focused on the upper torso. So to me, that makes me wonder if it was a gang attack, especially when you consider the groups of 3 that were going around stabbing and choking people.
Yeah.
And
it would point to like, I mean, not that one person couldn't take out the dog and then grab Katie, not just a few yards away, but if it was more than one person, it would be easier.
True.
To do that.
And I find it very just very odd how many situations this happened and they have seemingly been able to get away with it if it is the same person. To be clear, the police haven't linked any of these, which I find strange. But at the same time, there's women dropping dead all over New England and people dropping dead in the lake in Austin that are seemingly in no way really connected. So, it's believable. But with that said, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the autopsy report that I thought was weird. So one thing that I do is I will take an autopsy report if it's like the day it comes out, but it's not a high profile case, just to be clear, or if I FOIA one, and it's not a high profile case at all, I will copy paste the autopsy and I will put it in quotes and run it through a search engine to see if it pops up anywhere else on the internet. And I use a couple of them because they're all a little bit different. And you can also do like a relative scrape where you're cross-referencing with scrapes from different sources like topics forums. I personally like to just scan as much as I can, specifically because there are people who write about the things they do or become obsessed with the things they do. And people with predilections like Rex Huerman, even Koberger, we saw how vocal he was about the visual snow thing. I noticed that in a couple of super violent cases, people have not only like blogged about it in the past, but they will use what they did as inspiration. And for some reason, I was like, I'll just try it in this case and see if anything pops up, because that one girl knew some details ahead of time. And I was kind of wondering, did the guy know something because he really is a cop's roommate, or is it because he might have done something? When I ran a paragraph, the first paragraph that goes into the full description of the autopsy through in quotes, Harry Potter fan fiction popped up with a character that had verbatim every word exactly matching. And the post of that fan fiction came out after Katie's death, but before the autopsy report. And I found that very strange. And I don't know what to think of that. But I thought that's kind of a good thing to tip in. I couldn't find any other public autopsy reports that matched hers. So either someone had unfettered access or someone did something fucked up, and or a cop maybe wrote it. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that, but it was weird.
Did you see anything about her phone? Because I was looking at her effects on the autopsy. That she had a $5 bill and like the one earbud or whatever, and that was given to police. But I didn't see anything about a phone. Obviously she had her phone, but
Yeah, let me.
Police got that, if they went through that. If she could have had any photos or texts or
Oh
video
yeah.
prior to
So hold on, let me adjust my mic. I did see that they were able to trace her and Emma's phone.
Yeah.
Her wife. And as far as geofencing goes, that's something that I've been curious about because I haven't seen much on that. And I wish they would, but they were able to trace her and they were able to actually use the Find My iPhone app, because when they asked Emma for her phone, she like gave it to them, open password, everything. Like, here's how you she showed them. She's like, here's how I found her, and they were able to immediately like pull that. Katie's phone, I believe they were able to collect it because they did do a location extraction on it. They could have likely done that through a ping, but we don't really know exactly how they did it. But they make it seem like, I mean, she would have had to have had it because that's how Emma tracked her. But so they make it seem like they have the phone, you know.
I didn't see where it was on her and where the coroner gave it or medical examiner gave it to police, or where police have gone through her phone, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know who, probably Jen McCabe. She probably, I'm so sorry. She just shows up and takes every phone. Let me see. I'm going to pull up the autopsy. I'll let this video play about it and I'll scan the autopsy as it's playing to see if they mention it.
The minimum amount of time. So less than an hour. I mean, this apparently everything start to finish, according to communication they had and where she was and all that kind of stuff. All this went down in an hour or less.
I could be wrong, but I think it was narrowed down even more to maybe like 31 minutes. I could be wrong, but I think it was 31. But yeah, less than an hour. And keep in mind, she tells her girlfriend, she's like, I'm gonna go home and walk the dog, gives her a kiss, leaves less than a block away where her girlfriend works, goes home, grabs the dog, walks across the street, is murdered. And then right as that is happening,
because she had gone to Henry's where Emma was working. Katie was off. She'd gone to Henry's, took the dog by there to say hi. Was going to come back and walk Emma home, and that was going to be, she was going to be off within an hour.
Yeah, and then Emma thought it was weird that Katie didn't come back, right?
That's what I know about the timeline, because she was expecting her to come back, and it was an hour.
Yeah, so she walked back, and they believed that it had happened, I think, 15 minutes before she arrived there, that it had been completed. So they could have been there theoretically for up to 30 minutes. Who knows? There were none of the cameras there worked. And that is disturbing as fuck. I don't even know what else to say about that. That like they had so many, and yet,
especially too when it's a park that's so, you know, it's used for so many events and concerts and things. We have so many people. I mean, that they didn't have functioning cameras is insane.
Here's what I have listed for presentation, clothing, and personal effects. You want me to read it to you? It says, the body is received supine in a white plastic disaster bag secured with red plastic seal number 2271697. Attached to the plastic seal is a Fulton County Medical Examiner Center identification tag with a designation of 211750 Janness, Catherine. The hands are covered with white bags secured at the wrists with drawstrings, and that's because they did swabs of her fingernails because of, you know, defensive wounds, obviously, and a sexual assault kit. Fingernail clippings in a sexual assault kit are obtained before the decedent is completely disrobed. The feet are covered with brown bags and secured by zip ties at the lower legs. Leaves and organic detritus. I've never heard that word. I'm going to be honest.
It's just dirt material,
like debris,
trash.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So leaves and debris are on the body within the depths of sharp force injuries and in the disaster bags. The following items are present. A short-sleeved black t-shirt with a multicolored design is pulled at the lower chest. Defects in the shirt correspond to wounds on the body. So they didn't like pull her shirt up and stab her. They did it through the shirt, and it's pulled, which means that she was likely pulling away from them at some point. I know that my shirt did the same thing. It was totally like the collar was ripped. In this case, hers was pulled. There's different puncture holes, I guess. Blue denim jeans with a black belt in the loops and blue underwear with red, white, and heart pattern at the level of the knees. So the pants were pulled down to the knees and not off, just to be clear. To me, if they're pulled off, that signifies a little bit more. But because they're pulled down to the knees, that's kind of odd to me. To me, that screams gang, just my opinion. One $5 bill is in the watch pocket of the jeans. That's that little pocket, right?
Yeah, it's typically really called a coin pocket. But
oh. A blue-black plastic wireless earbud is adjacent to the right ear. So her right earbud is in. It wasn't an iPod. It was black and blue. 2 black hairbands are in her hair. A multicolored sock and a silver and white athletic shoe are on each foot. The earbud money are released with the body. The clothing and the disaster bag are retained in this facility for the investigating agency. It says no radio opaque objects are present. Okay, and that's all I'm going to read right there, but it does not say anything about the phone. I do believe they just took the phone on the scene. Oh my God. Some of this stuff is just really disturbing. There were 50 stab wounds and they describe each one in depth in this. And they talk about, like the hyoid bone is intact with no fractures. There are no hemorrhages noted on the tongue. So she didn't bite her tongue off or anything. There's no, airway mucosal edema. The skin of the neck is dissected to the angle of the mandible. No foreign objects are in the airway. Some people I saw on one forum tried to say that they put something in her mouth. They did not. Carotid vessels are pliable and patent. The jugular veins are not identified and are likely transected due to the previous described injuries, which we didn't get into yet. It's really, there's a part where they talk about the carvings and what they did to specific parts of her body that I'm gonna have to figure out how to say and really just type it out and edit it to where it gets the point across, but it isn't too disturbing. I think the best way to do it is I'm gonna let you see what the news said and then I will fill in any gaps. How about that? We'll just do that. I'm gonna play this now that I'm back. Sorry about that earlier, by the way. StreamYard being completely insane. Here, I'm going to play this, and it's going to go into security concerns. Huh?
The dogs again.
Them dogs is bad. Oh, God. The Bowie thing really pisses me off. This person is a psycho. Like, who does that, dude? Who does that? Okay. Here we go.
Continue to trickle in as questions over safety in that park mount.
The body of 40-year-old Katie Janness was discovered early Wednesday morning. She had been stabbed multiple times. Her dog also killed. CBS 46's Zach Summers live at Piedmont Park, where police were seen carrying away tonight, Zach, some potential evidence.
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a moment. You know, there are so many questions surrounding the death of 40-year-old Katie Janness. And tonight, APD asking for patience as they work to learn the true facts of this investigation. Take a look. This was shot late this afternoon. It's new video showing detectives back in the park focusing in on an area believed to have been where Katie's body was found. Crime scene investigators were seen loading a large tree branch into a van, potential evidence in this case. We know the FBI is now involved at the request of Atlanta Police. That bureau, of course, has far more resources than APD. While details surrounding Katie's death remain scarce, those who frequent the park are calling for security.
Okay, I just want to go back for a second. 2 things in this that made me take pause, no pun intended. This dog, okay? That's the box where you can't see because of the stupid banner, but it says slut upside down on it. And watch the dog's behavior. I'm curious. I would love to ask Galen if this was the dog notifying or not.
Atlanta Police. That bureau, of course, has far more resources than APD, while details.
See, to me, that looked like the dog was hitting on that box. I'm curious what Galen would say about that. Also, this is Emma's dad, the bald guy on the right. He drove there immediately when he found out, and there were some people saying, "Oh, he took his time and came a few." This is him on the scene right after it happened. He drove from out of town the second his daughter called. So we're gonna nip that bullshit in the bud right away. Emma Clark's dad was there on the scene within an hour or two of this happening.
Surrounding Katie's death remains scarce. Those who frequent the park are calling for security upgrades, working cameras in the park, emergency call boxes, enforcement, and regular patrols, even after Katie's murderer is caught.
Reality of what happened this week. It's pretty much got everybody on their toes.
This park is so popular, it's such like a central part of this community. So I think that, they really do need to step up measures to make it feel safe here.
Now, coming up tonight at 11, what safety features are already in place in and around the park, and just how effective are they?
I see your comment, Sherlock Ho. I'll explain to you why. When she was walking Bowie, she was, let me go back so that you guys can see. So see where this crime van is leaving? So her body was found like on this strip. If the van's going in opposite way, in reverse, it would curve to the left. And right here, this street going this way, this is the route that she was walking to enter the park. So she came up from the right up here and then turned in this way. I do believe when she was on camera at some point, she had crossed the street and then gone back up. They have a route they show, but I think that her dog went and sniffed up here. Bowie might have just pissed right there. They might have walked by there, but what they did was when they were bringing the search dogs in, I saw a bunch of footage where they come up and they take the dog all along the front of the park, and then they also do the other side, and then they bring the dog up here. They go to the crime scene, and then they come and they walk around, and it's not just one, it's a couple of them. And it's interesting because usually I would think you start at the body. I don't know if that was after they'd already done that or why, but I am wondering if they did the scent dog search, found a trail, and then went ahead for good measure and wanted to see how this person may have entered, I would presume. Again, I'm very curious to hear what Galen has to say, because her body was not found out there, but she does walk past there on surveillance. So I'm also wondering if they're trying to get her scent and not confuse it with the opposite direction, because the scent's over here. The person would have likely, in my opinion, run the opposite way, because remember, I told you guys how they were checking down in the river, like the little lake area in the park. That is the opposite direction. So I do believe the dogs carried the scent up to that. And I do wonder if they're just checking out to see, because if they could see a hit anywhere up here, then that likely means, for the perp specifically, then they can see the perp on the one working camera, which is right here at the lights. So I do wonder if they were just checking for that. I'm not sure, what they found, but I do find it odd that the dog jumps up on that box. Slut's written upside down. She had fat written on her or carved into her upside down. And they just seem to pay a lot of attention to that area. So I am curious if there was a common hit, but no trail. I don't know. I wish I could answer, but I don't know. And what do you guys think? What do you guys think? And it is straight up Harry Potter fan fiction. Like, what if Snape fucked Harry type of shit. Like, it is literally 16-year-old girl dirty thoughts fan fiction. Like, when the goth chick in school writes too much weird shit about, One Direction, it's like that, but with Harry Potter and a murder. And I don't know what the fuck to think about it, because it is very, very weird. That's all I'll say. I really want to get, that's all I can say. I want to get someone in law enforcement to take it and run with it before I show it to everyone, especially because I think that person did take it down. but I do have copies of it and information on it. With that said, let's continue.
Katie's murderer is caught.
Reality of what happened this week. It's pretty much got everybody on their toes.
This park is so popular. It's such like a central part of this community. So I think that, you know, they really do need to step up measures to make it feel safe here.
Now, coming up tonight at 11, what safety features are already in place in and around the park, and just how effective are they? We'll have that along with how you can pay your respects to Katie and her dog Bowie later this weekend. For now, live in Midtown, Zach Summers, CBS 46 News.
Zach, thank you.
And we've got 11, 5, 46, 2 Associated Press bloggers.
This one, I'm going to have to link in the bottom. It is way too freaking long, and they essentially say everything that I just told you. And a lot of what you've already heard. I am very curious what Ed would say.
As to count one, aggravated murder.
Whoops. This is not on the playlist. I don't know why. Oh, God damn it. All right. I need to go back. My playlist got all out of wonk. Hold on. Let me go back because I do have one more video to show you guys. And then we're going to finish this at a later date. We've got probably 2 or 3 more episodes worth, but I want to show you the recent updates. And I don't know why it didn't play. Okay. So this is her life partner, Emma, her wife, speaking out, and the autopsy report info. But I'm going to start with investigator says they're getting close to figuring it out. That was literally like 2 years ago. So you're going to see boom, 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 back to back those things. Just because I want you to have all the relevant info, including the multi-agency response and the new videos. So before we do that, because I'm going to let this play out, it's got 3 or 4 videos from the news that you should see from the time, including the update. I'm going to let those play out. But before I do, because that's going to be us ending it, I wanted to ask you, Hudson. So have you heard, like, okay, I have so many questions. When you met Katie, was it at her restaurant? Like, was she bartending and stuff? Or was she playing music or something? Or was it through mutual friends?
Like mutual friends at another bar.
Was she with them at the time?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, together? No, because they had been together about 6-7 years when this happened. I met her before that.
Okay. So.
And then would meet her out every now and then, like.
Okay. So.
Before they were together.
The people that I talked to also knew them before, and then 2 or 3 of them knew them after they'd gotten together. But all of them kind of described Katie as being like, she's super politically active, like social justice, literal warrior. Like this chick like arranges all sorts of it's not just like it's not LGBTQ centric every time. Like a lot of it is community centric. Would you agree?
Yeah.
She was in the community in that area and very well known. Was there ever anybody in that community that was also pretty well known or that you ever heard of who maybe was the opposite, the antithesis, like the anti-Katie, like somebody who had extremist beliefs in the opposite direction, hateful beliefs? Was there ever an issue with hate crimes in regards to LGBTQ people or women? Because aside from the political situations going on that have to do with everywhere, but something specific to that area, like was there a local person perhaps who was well known as that guy's the dick who stands on the corner and screams at gay people? Was there anything like that that you can remember?
Not really. Most of those folks are in North Georgia.
Yeah.
I've dealt with them at other venues.
Definitely.
Yeah. That I know of.
Was there ever like, I couldn't find anything of like a rapist or a stalker targeting any lesbian women, let alone just women in general, or targeting, I mean, as far as everyone that I told you about, you fat bitch, I'm gonna kill you and your dog. Same description, same guy. I couldn't find anything about anybody doing anything like that as far as targeting one specific group in that area.
She was politically active and everything too, but like as far as I knew too, not an antagonistic person. Like you can have people that follow the law and they know their rights. They know they keep things a certain way, certain behavior while they're protesting or they're doing whatever they're doing. And I would put her in that category, and not someone that's really trying to. You do have people that may be well-meaning, especially to start with, and then they are trying to be attention seeking and very confrontational, and will actively seek to create situations. And I would not put her in that category either.
So this is like this neighborhood. Is this the only like gay district in Atlanta?
No.
Okay, so there's a few different communities. Do you remember them doing any outreach to the gay community to quell them that I'm missing, or to answer their questions? Any community forums?
No.
Do you know of any hate crimes that were highly publicized around that time that you can recall?
No.
Targeting any group in Atlanta at all that is related to that community, i.e. like lesbian women, gay dudes? Was there ever rumors of a serial killer that would drug young? I mean, I know in Michigan there's a couple, in Indiana where it's like, gay men are disappearing from gay bars, or lesbians are disappearing, and little clusters. Is there anything like that you ever heard of?
Not that stands out to me. Before that, the main thing that it was 2006, it was July again, but it was 2016. There was a lynching in Piedmont Park. There was a man hanged there.
Yeah.
That's the main thing that stood out to me prior to this.
And there was the man who was stabbed there, and his sister still speaks out, and it was almost 10 years was it to the day or to the week that stuff happened to Katie? And it was like very brutal, same situation. It was 10 years. Straight guy though. So that's odd. Like also totally different victim profiles and not far apart in the exact same area.
Yeah.
Does anybody in the comments, because we're going to wrap this up, I'm going to play a few more things. We are going to have more episodes about this because there's so much more to go over, believe it or not. But I do have to edit some of it because I don't want to like put anyone on blast. And I think hopefully we will have Melissa and a couple of other people who I spoke to who were bothered by this guy threatening to cut them and kill their dog. Hopefully we'll have some of them on soon too. But do you have any questions for Hudson before he has to go? Again, Hudson met Katie. He knew her. He knows the area. He knows the case very well. He lives in that vicinity. So if you have any questions specific to someone who probably has more knowledge than you're going to get anywhere else, Hudson's a guy on the specific ambiance, what it did to the community, the issue, how it's still kind of, in my opinion, I think the police are they're non-responsive almost. Like they do this call every year, they do a press conference, and then we see countless people going, no one returned my call.
And nobody knows anything. Like the people that, knew her or, know about the case, nobody knows anything. Like anything new. The police never say anything new.
Yeah.
So I wondered and hoped that maybe they have something that they're just not able to disclose, and they want to.
You think it's a hate crime?
I don't know.
I don't know either. This one's tough.
It's definitely like there's definitely that like either that I'm no expert, so I don't know if it would be gendered hate because the way her breasts were attacked and her the mons pubis area. Now that those wounds down there went deep, so it could have just been that they went deep when they were trying to go into the abdomen, and that was coincidental because people admit she's trying to fight back and whatever's happening, but makes me feel like, probably a man did that, but who knows? Was it hate crime or just random? And then that, because she was a woman, that's how they attacked her. I don't know.
And that's what sucks is because, it is.
So did they have some intention, with pulling her down other than humiliation or immobilizing her? And then that was interrupted or,
Agreed. And it seems like a very male crime just because of everything you said, but also the thing that disturbs me is in order to do the wounds that they did and the description of, the slice, the stabs, the pokes, they literally go in depth on the autopsy report, which I will read you some of in a minute. I feel like, and I'm not going to say in my gut, I feel like based on what I've read and based on what I know is possible, just because I didn't like to hunt, but I grew up having to hunt every once in a while, doing the whole, okay, family, I guess I'll go do this because you're fucking making me. Growing up in the country, I know what knives are used to dress a deer, to hunt, to fillet fish, things like that. Like, I might not be the most wilderness affiliated person, but I know what works. When people hear K-bar knife, they often go, Kohlberger, but that's because that was the most popular case, I think, in the last decade where a K-bar knife was used that was publicized a lot. But if you just type in K-bar on Judy records, even, like, there are hundreds of cases where people use that type of weapon for, in my opinion, mostly two reasons. There's two groups that, or I should say there's two groups that mostly use it. One is ex-military. Why? Because it's part of the outfitting of a soldier. It's what you use. The other is hunters, right? But I think the smaller percentage is people who they want to use it on humans and they want to be successful. And it's a very tiny percent because, again, we don't see a lot of that. So when you look at her wounds and what he was capable of doing, and like you said, where he focused, or I'll say they, because we don't know. To me, it screams like they had to have a strong knife.
Yeah.
And not a machete, in my opinion. And based on the depth of the wounds, the size of the entry, it's something like that. And the cleanliness of the cut, but also the ability to carve a word in.
Yeah.
To me, that's just what it looks like. It doesn't feel like something a simple pocket knife could do successfully, in my opinion. Would you agree, or do you think it was a chef knife? Like, what do you think?
Pocket knife's gonna, you can do a lot of damage with a pocket, with even a small pocket knife.
Yeah.
Enough, but for this to go on, because too, like her vertebrae were, some were damaged by this too. Like, some of these wounds went deep. They also did what they did to the dog. All of this was done, with this supposedly same weapon. They could have more than one, but
and they were able to cut the eyelids. I believe it was up the center. So you have to imagine there's a sharp tip.
Yeah.
And it's got to be precise. This just seems like if you're carrying around that kind of weapon, why is it if your homelessness for protection, but you also maybe have mental illness? That's something I can see, especially because, and I'm not saying it was a veteran before. I just don't want anyone to jump my ass. But again, a lot of military people carry these knives. Was there a veteran with PTSD who still had their weapon? Was there somebody who bought this and then became homeless and lingered at the park? Was it somebody housed who had a bad day? Was it somebody who purposefully wanted to do this? Did Bowie try to bite someone and they snapped? Was it targeted with intent? I'm going to wait because I know this is where she walks her dog.
It feels kind of targeted. I don't know if they were, had seen her walking there and were watching her or anything like that, but it just seems targeted to me, because if it was about the dog pissing them off, I don't think they would have done exactly. They might have killed her, but I don't think they would have done the same things. The the specific things they did to her.
Okay.
If it was
And
just about that.
but is the target, be more specific for me. Do you think it's Katie or do you think it is the profile of Katie? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
That, you know, I kind of think, yeah, because I don't know of any, like, you know, just attacks on women, specifically lesbian women around there, or anything like that. I never heard about anything like that.
Yeah. The ones that I talked about earlier, it was, they'd say fat bitch, but they'd focus on, I'm going to kill your dog and you. But it was always the dog was the consistent thing.
Yeah.
Huh. Weird. Yeah, I mean, I agree, but this is all just very weird. There's so many different.
Weird.
Yeah, there. Unfortunately, there are quite a few involving eyelids. Cutting off someone's tits is just so fucking gnarly, and it's such a like anti-female thing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it happens a
They're
ton.
attempting to do, like, according to
Mhm. It's usually like an ex-wife, victim of a cartel, somewhere where there, I mean, a lot of foreign countries have, like, with femicide issues, specifically Mexico. There's, you know, it's something that's very, to me also, you know, not just the cartel, but other gangs do shit like that. But it's just, that takes a lot of time. That's overkill, even for a gang, I think. And the fact that they didn't, again, there wasn't anything really to take though. So that's what this is a tricky one, you know? Israel Keys was already dead, Manson. Charles Albright, as you were talking about, from Dallas, he replaced the eyeballs with because his mom grew up and made him use substitute eyeballs. She was a doll maker and wouldn't let him play with the eyes or have any for his dolls, so he would take the eyes out of his victims. She was not Mexican, she was white. She was actually supposed to go to Michigan the next day to see her family. Digging up the tree, I don't know why, but I think it had a lot to do with I think the dog hit on that tree, and it was also right where her body was found. So I do wonder if there was any like blood spatter or anything on that tree. I have a picture of them with the tree sideways. It's huge. It is massive. Like, they took a huge tree out of the ground. But I'll show that to you later. The word fat is honestly what really is the most bizarre to me out of all of this. She wasn't fat. So offensive. But also, like, to me, that feels.
She was 5'6.5", like 156, I believe, and not fat, in my opinion, by any
Not
means.
fat at all, in my opinion.
You know, to some people, but
she also kind of also looks like Maura Murray a little bit in the face. Like we were talking about, the governor looks like a lot of people have that dimple situation, the same shape of face. Like, she has like a long, thin neck. She's not fat at all. And it's, to me, when I looked up carvings of people who carve
she never was
things in women, men usually carve, and this is a very vague statement, but men usually carve whore, slut, something that's a bitch, fuck
demeaning.
you. Yeah, demeaning. Women will insult your self-esteem. And it's also usually a hoax when it's women. So that's another thing that trips me out. Like, things like fat, ugly, the R word, like, you know what I mean? And then the other group is like anti-Semitic.
That's why I wondered too if that's what they were even trying to carve into her, or
I was wondering if they were trying to do a G.
If it was an acronym, could be that, or if they didn't finish the word, you know, and it was going to be fate or something like that.
Yeah.
It sounds corny maybe, but I don't know what they could have been maybe writing. But also haven't seen, you know, you don't see exact measurements in the autopsy report too about the placement of the letters, and if there was space, like, you know, maybe left to finish a word, or if it took up, you know, the whole area or what.
I thought they did. Let me hold on. I have it pulled up right here.
But
I thought it was right above her.
Because I think when I wrote to you as well, like, I had looked at some other cases too to see if it could be, you know, the same person that did it, and I wondered if, you know, it could be letters for a gang or anything like that, you know.
Okay, another thing that she had a lot of past scars on her.
Yeah, it's not like she had some surgical scars, maybe.
Yeah, some of it was like on the wrist and like cutting areas proportional to each other, but they were old scars. Which is just really sad. But I did notice that some of the reports, a lot of podcasts will reference these as injuries. But they're not, they're old scars. That was something I wanted to note. She also had, where is it? It doesn't let you like search within the document for the word. Okay, multiple sharp. Here's the evidence of acute injury. Multiple sharp and blunt force injuries are described. The order of description is for convenience and does not imply the order in which the injuries were inflicted. Many of the injuries contain dark fragments of material consistent with worn clothing. Because remember, they didn't take her clothes off and then stab her. They did it through the clothing. So to me, it's like the interest was there, maybe even no thought into it. They're just attacking. You know what I mean?
Stabs were in the back. It sounds like too that they entered through the back. So I guess maybe they snuck up on her.
Could have been.
Did those first? I don't know.
At least 15 intersecting incised wounds. So like this, extend from the forehead to the chin. So 15. These injuries involve each eyebrow, the upper and lower eyelid. So eyebrow, eyelid, right greater than left, nose, left cheek, and chin, and alter the contour of the face. So like that.
Almost sounds like that person was left-handed then. If she took more deeper injuries to the right side of her face.
Then it could have been a lefty for sure. Now if they were, but remember they carved from behind, from upside down.
Yeah.
So then they would be a righty technically. If they're doing it from upside, remember if she's flipped, so they'd be looking down and she'd be facing with her feet that way.
Right.
Okay. So these injuries cover a 9 1/4 by 8 1/2 area. So about that much area. And are 3/16 to 4.5 inches in length. So a 4.5 inch blade, like it went in that far. That's pretty fucking deep. The injuries extend from 2.5 to 10 inches from the top of the head. So that 5 3/4 left to the anterior midline to 3 1/4 right of the anterior midline, and are less than a 1/16 to 5/8 of an inch in depth. So they get less depth, obviously, as you get to where the harder bones are. The injuries are oriented in multiple directions, and convergences are indeterminate. The injuries of the forehead extend to the periosteum, creating palpable incisions in the frontal bone and right supraorbital ridge. The nasal cartridge exhibits multiple incised wounds, so cut on the nose. The upper lip exhibits cutaneous and buccal mucosal injuries. So they mutilated every part of her face, essentially. Scattered contusions and abrasions of the face and neck are 1/4 to 7/8 in diameter. Those are the blunt force injuries. So she was likely hit with something, and it doesn't seem like it was a fist, right? It seems like it was an object with like a smaller end, and I wonder if that, like, did he flip the knife and pop her with it? Yeah. Sharp force injuries on the neck. This is a lot to read and very disturbing. I'm going to try to, I'll put a link to the autopsy report if you want to see it. Let's just say the neck, it was cut with overlapping and interconnecting incisions. So it's going down and it's doing this almost. The following structures are injured: the right side of the epiglottis, the right side of the pharynx, the thyroid and cricoid cartilages of the larynx, each common carotid artery, which are transected. So that's like an X, right? So they cut all along the neck, and it looks like they were doing it like this. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. There's a disruption of the transverse processes of the third and fourth cervical vertebrae. The anterior and posterior cervical skeletal muscles are hemorrhagic. So you have like, this is so disturbing. There's a ton of cuts, let's just say that, and it's starting to go down. The left breast, and this is the worst part, exhibits a curvilineal incised wound sparing a 3 1/8 segment of intact skin in the 11 o'clock and the 1 o'clock positions of the breast. So think about 11 and 1. It's like that. That's how much is attached. This injury exposes subcutaneous tissue. The breast is displaced superiorly and laterally. So they then basically peel them off and rusted them. On the areola of the left breast is a 5/16 by 1/8 inch sharp object force injury from the nipple in the 7 o'clock direction. This injury is at least 1/8 of an inch in depth. So they tried to then cut around the areola. Again, it goes in no order. So they likely did that and then cut, which to me, they're going in a circle. It's going to take a minute. And that's the part that it's just a lot. It's a lot of extra stuff to do. And yes, tree hugger, as far as everything we've seen. Yes. Okay. There is a 20-inch wound from the top of these wounds are centered 20 inches from the top of the head, extend 3 1/4 right of the anterior midline to 3 1/2 left of the anterior midline, and these are intersecting incised wounds in the middle and right side of the lower chest and upper abdomen. So let me read this again because it's all janky. Okay, this tells you where they carved the letters. An 8 1/2 by 6 inch area of intersecting incised wounds in the middle and right side of the lower chest, upper abdomen. So it was right under, I believe, right? Or was it in the middle and right side of the lower chest, upper abdomen? So it'd be right here. And it has an F and an A. These wounds are centered 20 inches from the top of the head, extend 3 1/4 inches to the right of the anterior midline to 3 1/2 left, except for the horizontal component of A. The wounds are less than 1/16 and 3/16 in depth. So they're just carefully carving the top. The injuries are oriented in multiple directions. Each convergence appears pointed. So these injuries involve the skin and subcutaneous tissue without entering the body cavities, forming a horizontal section of A. In this injury complex is a 3 3/4 by 5/8 incision that is 1 1/8 inch in depth. The injury is oriented in the 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock positions. So 3 to 9. So it's going like that. Each convergence is pointed. The sharp force injury also involves the skin and subcutaneous tissue without entering the body cavity. The left side of the lower chest is the incised injury composed of incised wounds forming the T. So it goes FAT. So the T is in the center and the F would be over here, but lower. This injury has a 4 5/8 horizontal component and a 4-inch vertical component. So it's about that big. So the T is pretty prominent, a little bit larger than the others. The others were 3 3/4 and 3 1/4. So it gets bigger as it goes up. This one's really, I'll just tell you this. There's a 22-inch injury that goes down to the bottom. That's all I'm going to say on that. Very deep. And then in the back of her head, down to her mid-level shoulders, there are multiple blunt force and sharp force injuries. So it was all focused up here for the multiples, the clusters, and then the larger ones go down the center front. There's an inside wound on the left of the backside that is 10 3/4 from the top of the head. So it basically starts mid back shoulder. Okay, I can't do any more of this. This is fucking messing me up. This is so sad. But yeah, I will put a link if you want to read it. If you are interested and if you have any capacity for adding any helpful detail to that. If you're somebody who worked in the medical field, EMT field, if you're Darlene, very interested in what you have to say about it. I'm going to go ahead and put on the last 3 videos and peace out, but we are going to do another episode on this if you're down to come back. And, I'm hoping to have some people on.
And maybe I can, one day coming up, I can maybe get over to the park, maybe take some video over there, walk around through there.
That would be awesome. I hope to also. I've been thinking about it next time I go.
Yeah. So maybe I could get you on, like we can get on and walk through. You do it live or something like that, or
and I think in the next episode we'll do a Google walkthrough, and I'll show you basically from the entrance into. We'll go exactly where she walked on the security camera. We'll go into the entrance, and then I'll show you where they found her body and where they pulled the tree, and then where the dogs hit. We'll do that on the next one. And yes, I actually, you know what's odd, Sherlock, in the OSINT cheat sheet, I already have the carving research in there, I believe, but I wanted to add more. So I will collect that from there. And I will also add some of the resources that I have in my private notes, and you guys can have at it and check that out. Is there anything you want to tell anyone, Hudson, you want to say before you go? And thank you for coming on last minute to talk about this.
Yeah, there's so much to it, but I don't. It's just crazy. It's just so senseless, and it just shocking, really disturbing that it happened to somebody like her. It didn't happen to anybody, but
yeah. She was such a beautiful soul.
Get some more attention and pressure onto this. Keisha Lance Bottoms apparently is going to run for governor. She she was the mayor. She went into private sector and did a CEO job, and then I guess I've heard that she's going to run for governor, and so maybe we can,
Yeah, I feel like she would take interest in having something. I mean, shit, I don't even care if someone uses it as a political platform as long as you do something about it. So maybe it's a great opportunity for her to show her shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ooh. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you to you guys for listening to this really traumatic shit. We're going to go more in depth next time, and we're going to watch the full interview with her father-in-law and her partner at the time. But for now, I'm going to leave you with some of the information that we haven't seen yet, and some that we talked about, and the GBI investigators take on this. But we're going to do another episode on this. We're going to do a few more. There's a lot on it, and I will post a link on the page and in the Discord under this video. And just thank you so much, Hudson. Everybody say Hail Satan. Hail Satan. Happy Pride Month. Hail Satan. There he goes. And he's gone. Okay. You guys made me do that. You guys made me do that to Hudson. All right. I'm going to go ahead and hit play on these, and I'm going to show you a few more things, and I will put links to everything. I promise I'll have it before morning. I know I said that on the video yesterday and I didn't get it done, but I'm going to do it tonight while I catch up in between work. So here you go. It is a conjoined effort, like a conjoined twin. So right now it's Atlanta Police, FBI, and GBI. So there you go. Yes, some of it, most of it. The problem is when you're stabbed, sometimes you can still be alive and reacting or not reacting. It kind of depends. But it seems like she would have to be quite still for that. So I do believe she was out when that happened. That was post-mortem, if you will. Unfortunately, this is such a sad case. I will also put a link to Katie's SoundCloud if you guys want to go check it out and hear her music. I think people need to get justice for their community, for Bowie, for her, and I hope that they clear her partner and her partner's dad soon so that they can have time to grieve, because they haven't really been able to because of the shit that is spewed online, and everybody who seems to know Katie kind of has the same opinion. So yeah, in fact, you know what we'll do? I'm gonna play this video and then I will put on one of Katie's songs and we'll end on that. All right, you guys have a good one. Good night.
At 6, a chilling 911 call. A woman murdered in Piedmont Park.
Her partner making the horrific discovery. A warning, the audio you're about to hear is tough to listen to.
Did you just see that? That's my girlfriend.
Atlanta police also just releasing new video of potential witnesses. Investigators are urging these people to come forward.
We have team coverage of reporters piecing together what happened as police search for the killer. First, CBS 46's Haley Mason breaking down that 911 call and a timeline of what happened that night. Haley?
Tracy, I've combed through every bit of that 911 call and the new surveillance video, trying to piece together a more clear picture of everything that was happening here at Piedmont Park when Katie Janness was killed, even talking to the woman who found her body right beyond that front gate. One thing we've realized is this brutal murder happened quickly. Everything we're about to show you taking place in less than an hour.
Dad, she's here at Piedmont Park. Please help.
You said somebody's dead at Piedmont Park?
This is the frantic 911 call made after Katie Janness was found murdered inside Piedmont Park.
You said somebody's dead at Piedmont Park?
On the phone is Emma Clark, Katie's partner of 6 years. She tells us she went looking for Katie after she didn't respond to calls or texts while walking their dog. Her phone pinged to Piedmont. Today, police releasing surveillance video of possible witnesses who were at the park when the murder happened. We've put together this timeline. At 12:09 a.m. last Wednesday, this is one of Katie's last moments, walking her dog across the Pride intersection in Midtown on 10th Street. Shortly before, at 11:55 p.m., a group of women walking from the park. At 12:25 a.m., a man with a cane is seen walking out of the opposite side of the park, looking at his phone. At 12:43 a.m., a person in a hoodie and jeans walking away from the same Piedmont Avenue entrance. And by 12:46 a.m., this man in blue is seen jogging in and out of the park entrance just yards away from the murder scene. Police stressing these aren't suspects, but possible witnesses they're asking to talk to for possible tips. By 1:11 a.m.,
Atlanta 911, operator 7959. What's the address to your emergency?
Emma had made the awful discovery and called police.
I'm at the entrance of Piedmont Park. I just was searching for my girlfriend's purse because I couldn't find her. She's dead. She's here at Piedmont Park. Please help.
You said somebody's dead at Piedmont Park?
Yes, ma'am. Please send help. Please.
All right, yes, ma'am. I'm going to send help to you.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
And a few seconds later, we hear an unidentified person walking up, yelling, seemingly in shock.
She was right near the entrance. Like, I don't know how to explain it to you. Did you just see that? That's my girlfriend. What? Yes.
All right,
Please. Oh my God, dude. She's like, she's dead. Like, it's so far.
all right, I'm about to call Grady, okay?
Emma telling me Tuesday she hopes witnesses will come forward to help find the killer.
Of course, found her, and I initially didn't realize how bad it was. I didn't stick around. It's very possible that these people saw something that they don't realize.
And we're still not revealing everything that happened to Katie Janness just because the details are so disturbing. But police hoping that someone that was here around that time will bring forward more information. We know police and PETA are working together now with a $20,000 reward that would lead to an arrest or conviction. Reporting at Piedmont Park, Haley Mason, CBS 46 News.
Enforcement agencies showing a united front tonight
as they work to figure out who killed Katie Janness and her dog as they walked through Piedmont Park last night. Today, the Atlanta Police Department, the Fulton Sheriff, the Fulton District Attorney, and U.S. Attorney all came together for a press conference to answer questions about the crime and the amount of resources being devoted to this investigation. Caitlin Ross joining us now live from Piedmont Park. Caitlin, while we do see agencies collaborate on investigations, it's not often we see it on a scale that we are seeing in this one.
Exactly, Cheryl. It's really unusual to see so many agencies come together to talk about this murder here in Piedmont Park. The park is busy tonight. You can see people setting up for Dogwood Festival. A lot of people coming in and out with their children, walking together. These law enforcement agencies, though, are saying do not come to Piedmont Park alone. The reason? The memorial set up right here at the entrance of the park to Katie Janness, murdered walking her dog Bowie last Wednesday. They say people need to be extraordinarily careful as they look at the disturbing details of this case to try and solve it.
Some cases we look at and we instantly know that there are expertises and resources that the federal government has, and so we call upon them to help. But every case is treated very seriously. And this case, because there had not been a murder in Piedmont Park so long.
So far, though, no suspects, no leads that they're talking about. They did say that all of the social media rumors could impede their investigation. So they're really asking people to stick to the facts here. But just as we were standing out here for 10 minutes, two people went by and said, we want answers. They want to know what happened here. And that's echoed in this memorial. You can see they actually have warnings before people walk out into the park here. One says 187 acres, only 9 cameras. Another, we want answers. So this is absolutely a case people who live in Midtown and throughout Atlanta are extremely worried about. DA Fonnie Willis says as soon as they have more information, they do plan to keep the public updated, but so far, no arrests in this case.
My head was swimming, my head was swimming, my head was swimming, my head was swimming, but I made it into your eyes. And you said, baby, you know what I got. Well, it just ain't the right fix. I tried to make it to the doctor. I figured if you don't want me, well then it must be me that's broken. I tried to make it to the doctor. I couldn't make it out the front door. My head was swimming, my head was swimming, my head was swimming, my head was swimming. I lay down and take a back and try not to tell my story again. You know it makes me self-conscious to know that you're right here listening. Sometimes I can't keep my lips from opening. There's gotta be a better use for them. My head is swimming. My head is swimming. My head is swimming. My head is swimming. But you know the water's not too bad if you just wanna dip your feet in it.